Points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy No Mueller Testimony Monday to you, my buddy.
Happy it's Monday, Cohen's going to jail Monday, Crudy.
Happy Monday, we're going to war with Iran Monday. So many headlines. Where do we start, my friend? Here's where I want to start. I'm just going blasting forward with this one. Trump would have been charged with obstruction were he not president. Hundreds of former federal prosecutors assert. I would rephrase that very slightly. Every single former federal prosecutor says Trump should have been prosecuted on obstruction were he not the president.
Or as Trump puts
Every
it,
one of them.
the no collusion conclusion.
He's very clever with the alliteration. I less so. Matt Zapotowski at the Washington Post, more than 370 former federal prosecutors, that's every single one, who worked in Republican and Democratic administrations, have signed onto a statement asserting special counsel Robert Mueller's findings would have produced obstruction charges against President Trump if not for the office he held. Every single former federal prosecutor ever in the history of America. J. Edgar Hoover sent a letter from his grave,
Right?
the statement signed by a myriad former career government employees as well as high-profile political appointees offers a rebuttal to Attorney General William Barr's determination that the evidence Mueller uncovered was not sufficient to establish that Trump committed a crime. Mueller had declined to say one way or the other whether Trump should have been charged, citing a Justice Department legal opinion that sitting presidents cannot be indicted, as well as concerns about the fairness of accusing someone for whom there can be no court proceeding. Mueller being fair, Trump not bound by such things. But here's a quote, Tom. This from the letter signed by every former federal prosecutor in the history of time. I mean, at least 370 of them.
Actually, last I saw, other reporting after this piece from the Post hit Crudy over 400 now.
The number growing
Yes.
exponentially. To include every single one.
Right.
Here's what it reads, in part. Each of us believes that the conduct of President Trump described in the special counsel Robert Mueller's report would, in the case of any other person not covered by the Office of Legal Counsel policy against indicting a sitting president, in any other case, it would result in multiple felony charges for obstruction of justice, the former federal prosecutors wrote. We emphasize that these are not matters of close professional judgment, they added. Of course, there are potential defenses or arguments that could be raised in response to an indictment of the nature we describe here. But to look at these facts and say that a prosecutor could not probably sustain a conviction for obstruction of justice, the standard set out in the principles of federal prosecution, runs counter to logic and our experience, signed every former federal prosecutor in the history of mankind.
Crudy Matt Zapotowski from the Post. The statement is notable for the number of people who have signed it. Matt writes at 375 as of Monday afternoon.
Yeah, you do the names. You know how I am with names.
And now, of course, as reported, more than 400 continuing, and the positions and political affiliations of some on the list. It was posted online Monday afternoon. Those signing it did not explicitly address that what, if anything, they hope might happen next. Among the high-profile signers are Bill Weld, former U.S. Attorney and Justice Department official in the Reagan administration, who's running against Trump as a Republican, Donald Iyer, a former Deputy Attorney General in George H.W. Bush's administration, John S. Martin, former U.S. Attorney and federal judge appointed to his post by 2 Republican presidents, Paul Rosenzweig, who served as senior counsel to independent counsel Kenneth Starr, and Jeffrey Harris, who worked as the principal assistant to Rudolph W. Giuliani when he was at the Justice Department in the Reagan administration.
In other words, nothing but angry Democrats.
Bunch of angry Democrats just, trying to get even, Crute. The list also includes more than 20 former U.S. attorneys and more than 100 people with at least 20 years of service at the Justice Department, most of them former career officials. The signers worked in every presidential administration since that of Dwight D. Eisenhower. These signatures were collected by the nonprofit group Protect Democracy, which counts Justice Department alumni among its staff, and was contacted about the statement last week by a group of former federal prosecutors, said Justin Vail, an attorney at Protect Democracy. This is what Vail said. We strongly believe that Americans deserve to hear from the men and women who spent their careers weighing evidence and making decisions about whether it was sufficient to justify prosecution. So we agreed to send out a call for signatories. The response was overwhelming.
Every single one.
This effort reflects the voices of former prosecutors who have served at the DOJ and signed the document. Weld said by the time he reviewed the statement, it had already had more than 100 signatures, and he affixed his name because he had concluded the evidence goes well beyond what is required to support criminal charges of obstruction of justice. He goes on to say, I hope the letter will be persuasive evidence that Attorney General Barr's apparent illegal theory is incorrect. Of course it's incorrect. All you have to do is read the actual report that Mueller supplied. A spokesman for the special counsel's office declined to comment. A spokeswoman for the Justice Department referred a reporter to Barr's previous public statements on the subject, Crute.
I didn't find them pervasive either.
Persuasive. Oh, come on. This is how it's going to be.
Come on, it's Monday mouth for everybody.
Finally, cruelly, many legal analysts have wondered since Mueller's report was released whether the special counsel believed he had sufficient evidence to charge Trump and was just unwilling to say it out loud. By the report's account, Trump, after learning he was being investigated for obstruction, told his White House counsel to have Mueller removed. And when that did not work, according to the report, Trump tried to have a message passed to then Attorney General Jeff Sessions to limit the scope of Mueller's authority. Of that episode, Mueller's team wrote that there was substantial evidence to indicate Trump was trying to prevent further investigative scrutiny of himself and his campaign. Finally, Crudy, all of this conduct, trying to control and impede the investigation against the president by leveraging his authority over others, is similar to conduct we have seen charged against other public officials and people in powerful positions, the former federal prosecutors wrote in their letter.
Should I continue?
Please do.
Struggling a little on a Monday?
Just a little.
I know how that goes. Let me do the heavy lifting for you, buddy. I'll
Big
take
fella.
you home. All of this conduct tried to control and impede the investigation against the president by leveraging his authority over others is similar to conduct we have seen charged. Didn't you just read this? You could have warned me quicker.
I thought it was worth repeating.
Thanks, buddy. They wrote that prosecuting such cases was critical because unchecked obstruction, which allows the intentional interference with criminal investigations to go unpunished, puts our whole system of justice at risk. Back to you. I don't want to do it, man.
All right, we'll finish this up. Mueller's team, though, wrote that it decided not to make a traditional prosecutorial judgment in part because of the Justice Department opinion on not indicting sitting presidents and because the evidence obtained presents difficult issues that would need to be resolved if they were to do so. At the same time, if we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state, Mueller's team wrote. After receiving the report, Barr said he and Rosenstein reviewed the case themselves and determined the evidence was not there. He offered a robust defense of that decision at a recent congressional hearing detailing for lawmakers possible defenses Trump could have raised in each episode. Barr said the government has to prove things beyond a reasonable doubt, and as the report shows, there's ample evidence on the other side of the ledger that would prevent the government from establishing that.
Or as every former federal prosecutor ever in the history of our country has said, they would have prosecuted for obstruction. All except for Bill Barr, I guess. Come back with us. Phone lines open. It's Monday. Help us out. 844-967-2789.
I know words. I have the best words.
Would that be obstruction?
Yes.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Have you got your head in the clouds on how to manage IT for your enterprise? We can make your dreams a reality. With our enterprise cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting, we'll manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Consider Five Nines your personal enterprise IT solution. Enjoy technology. For more information, visit fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
You know, I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at domandcroot.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's domandcroot.com.
Charged, never convicted. Dom and Croot are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, the political party line. Always open for your take at 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY.
Dominic, you were kind of butchering that one.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore, you want to move on quickly, but I think we should belabor a few of these points.
Belabor it? Let's not beat it to death. Let's not get into the details. Let's think about the larger picture here, Crudy. More than 400 former prosecutors.
Starting to get to be a big number.
I mean,
approaching every single one of them.
That's a big number. That's a big number. And it's not just Democrats, progressives who are saying this. There actually are some, law and order Republicans that apparently believe in law and order? Come on.
I mean, if you are a former federal prosecutor, you've got to be stunned by the conduct and by what you've read in the Mueller reports. And unlike, a guy like me, I have not read the Mueller report. I'm waiting for the fully unredacted version.
Oh, then you're going to dive into
Otherwise, it's going to be unsatisfactory to me. But, we got some friends. Jim Santel, we know a former federal prosecutor, and he's always so, he always tries to be so fair and balanced in his assessments. But, Dom, this is a little beyond, a simple coin flip. Yeah, I can understand the rationale and the reasons. No, let me repeat. I will be redundant. Each of us believes that the conduct of President Trump described in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report would, in the case of any other person, result in multiple felony charges for obstruction of justice. Any other human being who's not the president. That's going to be hard to deny. That's, I know, move on, nothing to see here.
It's easy to deny. I mean, that's all Trump does is deny. he continually denies, and all the sycophants, all the big Trumpster fan, the maggots out there, they go along with it. Now, I'm not clear if they're going along with it because they know it's just a big old ruse, and it's all-star wrestling, Crudy. It's all about the show and whatever. We're throwing a wrench in the system. Or there might be some out there that actually believe the words that come out of Donald Trump's mouth or his Twitter feed, that they believe this man, and when he says it, it's true.
Dominic, I'm going to continue here. Again, from the article at the Post. We emphasize this over 400 former federal prosecutors speaking united in this way. We emphasize that these are not matters of close professional judgment. Of course, there are potential defenses or arguments that could be raised in response to an indictment of the nature we describe here. But to look at these facts and say that a prosecutor could not probably sustain a conviction for obstruction of justice, the standard set out in the principles of federal prosecution, runs counter to logic in our experience. So say it every federal prosecutor apparently in the history of the DOJ.
But we should not consider impeachment, right?
Now,
what was this, a week or two ago?
That's not the topic of conversation yet.
But it all feeds
Perhaps
into
we'll get there. Hold on.
All right.
Now, we understand there has been negotiations, Mueller to give congressional testimony. And I'm praying for May 15th, baby. We will give you bell-to-bell Mueller time coverage right here on WRD, WTTN. And by then, I guarantee Talk 92.7 FM. But
wait, May 15th, that'd be next week, right?
Week from Wednesday.
Damn.
May 15th. Here's what Trump is now saying. What did Trump say? Like before the weekend, Trump saying, "I'll let Mueller testify." Fully vindicates him, fully exonerates him, right? No collusion.
Wouldn't you want him to?
No obstruction.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the special investigator to show to the world how innocent I truly am.
Now, Dominic, I suspect a flip-flop, not the worst of Donald Trump's crimes, but he's flippy-floppy. And in reversal, Trump says Mueller should not testify.
No.
Before Congress. Next week or so, he's going to be burning up Twitter. President Trump said Sunday that special counsel Robert Mueller should not testify before Congress, reversing course from his previous position that the decision is up to Attorney General William Barr. But Mueller should not testify, Trump said in an afternoon tweet. No redos for the Dems. And then, of course, he talked about the price.
Let's read the entire tweet. 2 tweets in the entirety.
Please
do. After spending more than $35 million over a 2-year period interviewing 500 people using 18 Trump-hating angry Democrats and 49 FBI agents, all culminating in a more than 400-page report showing no collusion. Why would the Democrats in Congress now need Robert Mueller to testify?
How many dots he got behind there? It's
like
a
6
continuation.
or 7, and then another 4.
Isn't it supposed to be like 3?
Are they looking for a redo because they hated seeing the strong no collusion conclusion? There was no crime except on the other side, incredibly not covered in this report. And no obstruction.
All caps.
Bob Mueller should not testify. No redos for the Dems.
You can't see what he wrote. It's all redacted. Bill Barr will give you a brief 4-page summary and no testimony because, I've been fully exonerated and vindicated by the report that you can't read in its completion.
Makes total sense.
Trump also insisted that Mueller's 448-page report found no collusion and no obstruction, overstating the conclusions of the nearly 2-year investigation. A redacted version of the document has been released. Congressional Dems are battling with Barr to get the full report. And Dom, if Dems don't get the full unredacted report from Bill Barr, the Attorney General, by Wednesday, they're seeking to hold him in contempt of Congress. It's going to escalate, man. It's going to escalate here rapidly. Got more you want to throw in?
I was just looking for forward in this
reading ahead
article.
in the work.
Yes, Democrats aren't alone in seeking Mueller's testimony. Early last month, the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, Rep. Douglas Collins, urged Nadler to invite Mueller to testify, writing in a letter to the chairman, quote, "If you seek both transparency and for the American public to learn the full contours of the special counsel's investigation, public testimony from special counsel Mueller himself is undoubtedly the best way to accomplish that goal." In an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday, Collins mentioned the letter and said of Mueller, he's the one that is the central figure here. Trump's reversal on Mueller testifying came hours after a key member of the House Judiciary Committee said the panel had proposed a date of May 15th for Mueller to testify, but that no agreement had been reached. Rep. David Cicilline said Sunday morning during an appearance on Fox News Sunday that a tentative date has been set for Mueller's testimony, but said in a later tweet that he had misspoken. Just to clarify, we're aiming to bring Mueller in on the 15th, but nothing has been agreed to yet. That's the date the committee has proposed, and we hope the special counsel will agree to it. Sorry for the confusion. So it's a big goal for the 15th.
So what do you figure? If Mueller agrees to testify, do you think we'll see the bombing of Iran between now and the Wednesday the 15th? Some sort of escalation, some sort of path towards warfare.
You know, I'd love to say no, but, you know, in this world, Trump's administration, yeah, it's all possible, man.
He needs a re-election war in his own opinion. You know, he doesn't care about the cost of human life or treasury. He needs a re-election war. Reagan had one. Margaret Thatcher had the Falkland Islands. We all know about W. I mean, they all had a war. That's the mark of a successful Republican,
Is
right?
that what it is? Turn the page on these other issues, but no.
At least if they want to get reelected, they got to have a war.
These presidents have been under this kind of scrutiny since Nixon, right?
Nixon had a war.
Yeah, that he did.
He had a secret plan to win the war in Vietnam.
But you had to vote for him first.
And then he'd tell you.
Sounds so familiar.
Much like Trump's plan to fix health care and everything else.
After
re-elect
the election,
him. After you re-elect him. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can join us on the phones. 844-967-2789.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com. Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, I work hard to be a leader in my industry, and I know the challenges posed by changing technology. It's my priority to make sure your network is up over 99% of the time. There's no question, trying to manage your own business IT is risky, costly, and time-consuming. Don't let IT overwhelm you. Learn more about Five Nines at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Dominic, Milwaukee got the DNC, but Miami, they got the first presidential debate. We'll go on the road. We're taking this show to Miami.
Crudy once again dragging me all over the country, bringing the heat to Miami, Wisconsin style. Join us for a live broadcast Wednesday, June 26th and 27th. And don't forget the wrap-up show in Miami on Friday, June 28th.
Special on-the-scene in Miami coverage on WRRT 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Hawk 92.7 FM.
For 1510 Milwaukee and 1580 Madison, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The future of the historic grove of 36 chestnut trees next to the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts in Milwaukee could be up for a vote tomorrow. Renovation plans for the Arts Center call for removing the chestnut grove because it is difficult to access for people with disabilities. To walk among the trees, visitors need to descend a couple of steps from ground level. A vote to designate the grove as historic by Milwaukee's Common Council could happen as early as tomorrow. Outside tonight, a chance of rain, lows around 40 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 40s in Milwaukee, upper 50s in Madison. For Wednesday, rain likely, with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Exclamation point.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Been missing you too, Fancy Brian. You know, this is some award-winning radio we're making over here on WRD 1510 AM.
And you're not just saying that.
I'm not just saying that. The Wisconsin Broadcasters Association is the ones saying that. And I had not ever been to the WBA Awards Gala until this past Saturday night. And I didn't try to drag you along. I knew you were over at Compali, did the Cinco de Mayo Eve live broadcast. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Joe Costa. Thank you, Dom and Keith, and all the fine people that made those broadcasts happen on Saturday. But while you were working hardish, I'm sure you got some tequila in you at some point.
Yeah, you know I had to.
Well, Dom, I went to the big awards gala, and it was well attended. I would say hundreds.
Did you wear a tie?
Lots of people. No, but I had a sport coat on.
Collar shirt?
Yes, I always wear a collared shirt for occasions as such. Even got some new dress shoes.
Ooh.
New wingtips. Pretty fashionable. I thought I was doing pretty well overall.
Yeah.
Some dressed more. Some were all the way to black tie.
Oh, really?
Mardi Gras theme. So some were, tuxedo coats with like a purple or a green boutonniere, the cummerbunds and the bow ties. But, I kind of felt friendless, Tom. I saw some guys from lacrosse, shared some old war stories with them.
Nice.
And then I saw radio rival, righty-whitey talk radio host Dan O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And he saw me.
And the room parted.
Kind of. And we hung out. We partied for hours. And when I say hours, this awards banquet reception started at 4:30. Seemed pretty early to me.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't even had a good snack on by 4:30.
You're just getting up from your nap.
And it's open bar. So,
bar.
Yeah, open bar. Early, you paid to get there. Not a cheap date, not a cheap ticket. But Mardi Gras theme, so I go to the open bar and I get my, my traditional double tall. And anyways, see Dan O'Donnell, and he's feeling no pain either already by 5:30 or ish when they're pushing us all in the room. And he and I and Eric Bilstead from WTMJ, the news director over there, we all went to the bar. And we hung out there for a good long time until apparently Dan, some fan of Dan's, calling him in the room. Dan, come in the room. I didn't see Dan with any hardware.
Oh,
so
no?
it wasn't that he was being awarded any sort of award of excellence. Eric Bilstead, I will point out, WTMJ, and he is part of the news division, and he has historically been something of a sidekick to, Scafidi, their dynamic morning host. You know, here's where I knew the fix was in. Scafidi won Personality of the Year.
I mean, come on.
Scafidi is no better than the 5th best personality just in the Milwaukee market.
Oh, so the fix was in.
And I'm not even counting myself in that mix. I'm just saying, even amongst righties, he's not even the most dynamic righty out there. So I knew the fix was in. He won Personality of the Year. I'm thinking he has very little personality. How could that be true?
So ironic.
Just a little white bread with some vanilla and
some ham,
some mayo. So anyway, Scafidi, congratulations to you. Eric Bilstead, who I had never met before, seems quite nice. Over at WTMJ, they won a lot of stuff. WTMJ, they had multiple submissions in every freaking category. Every category.
I barely got any submissions in before midnight on the deadline.
Yeah, thank you, by the way. You did good work. But here's the troubling part.
What's that?
You go to this event, and I had no idea. There's 7 or 8 pages worth of awards awarded that night. And everybody gets to go get their award at the event, at least the first place. But it's big market, medium market, small market.
Oh, right.
Social media, big market, media. I mean,
so every category in every market. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Too many categories, too many awards.
Now, were people able to, when they received their awards, give a little speech? I mean, how did all that work?
Only on the big stuff. Like Eric Bilstead got, at the end of the night, I think TMJ got Best News Operation or something. He gave a proud little speech at the end. And by then, I got to tell you, it'd been 3.5 hours. And you try to be polite. You try to keep the table talk to a minimum. So what do? You drink. And you drink. And you drink. And I mean, quite frankly, I'm glad the event closed down when it did. I'm glad I was close to home. I just went home, went to bed. Because if I'd have stayed, I'd embarrass myself.
It'd have been bad.
I was well on my way to being ugly drunk, Crudy.
So what kind of conversations do you have with these folks on the right when you're hanging out, man? Is it shop? Is it
sure? There's some shop talk.
Why are you such a shill for Trump? I mean,
I did ask that.
Yeah. And what's the reply?
He's getting paid.
Yeah,
getting paid better than you or I.
But would he get paid any less if he wasn't such a shill?
I don't know if he'd have the job if he wasn't such a shill. I mean, it sort of comes with the job description, right?
I'm not clear. I've never done radio before. I didn't know. I mean, in the job description, you have to be not only super cool and dynamic, but a shill for whatever the political winds of that station are.
Now, I'm not going to throw Dan O'Donnell entirely under the bus because we were there under friendly terms, and I was over drinking. I'm sure he was over drinking. A few things were said back and forth. Some smack was talked.
Well, I would hope so.
And, I talked about occasionally stirring the pot a little bit hyperbolically. And he admitted, he talks about a man that he hates about 40% of his life. So I just assumed he meant Trump. You or Trump, one or the other.
Me.
One of the June 14th
All right, so
birthday boys.
Let's talk about us. Let's talk about WRRD. Some awards were given. What happened?
Yeah, but we didn't get first place.
What?
I know, it's depressing. I mean, I sat through 3.5, 4 hours, and it was no longer the happy hour. I mean, then you had to pay for the drinks. So I ran through a wallet full of cash.
So much for open bar. How long did the open bar last?
Reception. The 45-minute, 1 hour reception was open.
Oh, come on.
Then you get in the room, cash bar.
All right, I got you.
About $20 a pop.
Did you get your money's worth?
Oh, I got lots of people's money's worth.
All right.
I think Dan O'Donnell and I bought a few drinks back and forth. He was drinking something less strong than I. He said he was going back. I'm like, dude, get a room. Get a room. And I don't mean with me. I'm just saying by yourself, solo, get a room. I assume he made it home safely. I heard him on the radio this morning briefly as I was flipping around to the inferior whitey-righty talk radio products. But he was friendly, and I would point out it's not all animus between me and the right. Hell, there are people on the right, there are talk radio hosts on the right that wish me good luck. And
like sincerely?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, at least to my face.
Right.
But there seems to be more genuine concern and more cheerleaders for this product on the right sometimes, I would say, than there is on the left.
I don't believe it.
I believe it. I live it. Because as far as the right's concerned, I'm just a little businessman out here trying to bootstrap it, right? They admire my gumption.
How about a Fresca?
844-967-2789. I know we digress, but we got like third place in the promo division.
Hey!
The Tom Perez, the original Tom Perez DNC MKE 2020, when I tried to sell him on the idea of bringing the convention to Milwaukee. And apparently,
It
very
worked.
pervasive.
Well done.
It's a major award.
Well
or persuasive.
Pervasive.
Depending on how you say
so
it.
pervasive.
Because you got the DNC, you're welcome, Milwaukee. And anyways, our pal, morning host, right here on WRRD 1510 AM, Sherwin Hughes, the Forum, named the third best morning show in large market radio.
It's a major award.
Well done, Sherwin. The inaugural show.
I think that was probably the best of what the night offered. I felt good. I was proud of Sherwin. You know, considering the fix was in. I mean, Scafidi, come on. Scafidi, come on. Come on, my producer's better than Scafidi. And you are, Fancy Brian.
I do what I can.
So any other takeaways? Well done, Sherwin. Well done, those fine producers here over at Real Resistance Radio. Crudy, that was actually, I mean, that was your joke. That was your conversation. It was funny. You say some funny things once in a while. We try to capture some of those promos.
Tell me more. With Tom Perez.
With Perez, yeah.
Well, I didn't, the whole... Anyways, we'll play it. The award-winning promo. I'm sure it's still in the rotation somewhere.
Probably.
Let's get to the phone callers. First one of the day, and it's a conservative. I told you they like me better than the left does. Welcome back, Gary from Sussex. How you doing, my friend?
Hey. Good. I'm glad you called me your friend because I consider you guys friends too. Dan O'Donnell is the one who turned me on to you guys. So you can blame him or thank him. It all depends how you look at it.
All right, we will.
I did.
So the thing, I didn't even know you guys were out there until one day he was just sitting there talking about you guys and gave the radio station, and I turned you guys on, and I listened to you for about 2 weeks, and I just couldn't hold my tongue any longer, and I just called in. But
here's what Dan O'Donnell said to me, and I'll take him for his word. He likes it when our audience calls in and gives him hell. Because he thinks it's good radio, much like we like when our conservative friends like you call in and we have a little friendly disagreement every so often on the radio. But we like that. That's, what gets me up in the morning, Gary, fighting with guys like you.
Well, you know what? I listen to you guys and I learn a lot. But I listen to both sides, so at least I'm well balanced. And I don't, it's not one propaganda. I'm listening to both sides. So
Gary,
I just make up my own mind.
The topic we've discussed to date, other than the awards dinner where Crudy drank way too much, all these former federal prosecutors, I think it's like all of them, they have decided they cannot all be Democrats. Many of them were Republican appointees or worked under Republican presidencies. Gary, do you give any veracity when like 400 of them come out and say there's so much evidence of obstruction here? If it was any other human being alive, they'd be prosecuted.
So you're asking what my opinion is. Okay, first of all, I will
Does
tell
that
you
bear any weight on your opinion? I guess is my question. If it was 500 former federal prosecutors or 1,000, would it matter?
Well, the thing is this. If I'm really hoping that Mueller gets out there and testifies. I really do. And you guys are kind of making it out like Donald Trump didn't want Mueller to testify.
He said that on Sunday. He is saying that.
I know, but you know what? Deep down inside, I think every American wants him to testify because I want to hear what Mueller has to say. But you know what? If Mueller comes out and he says, you know what, no collusion, not enough to prosecute obstruction, so we're dropping the ball. I mean, we're just going to drop it on this. you guys still wouldn't be good because
I'm not clear that would be the case. Gary, if I saw compelling testimony by Robert Mueller, and I respect the man, I have no reason not to. I admire the service he gave to his country. I trust most Marines. And I'm telling you, if Bob Mueller tells me there's no obstruction and he looks in the camera and he looks at the Democratic questioners, probably Nadler and others, and says, you know what? I just laid out the case for and against, and it was a coin flip and I didn't see it, or whatever the case may be. If that's Mueller's evidence, if that's his testimony, sure, I'll believe that. I just don't believe it when Bill Barr says it. Because Bill Barr didn't give us the report. And in fact, Bill Barr didn't meet the subpoena, and Bill Barr is going to be held in contempt of Congress on Wednesday, and there's 400 plus former federal prosecutors that say Trump is probably prosecutable on a charge of obstruction.
Let's see on Wednesday. There will not be nothing on Wednesday. There won't be nothing on Friday. Nobody's going to be held at contempt.
Well,
we'll see what
they will hold him to contempt of Congress. Whether or not that changes anything, you're right. It is the Department of Justice that would have to enforce the contempt citation against the head of the Department of Justice. Yeah, it's a hell of a catch-22.
Yeah, of course, it's not going to happen.
Well, the contempt will happen, Gary, if he does not, bring forth the documents as requested.
Let's see, because I believe that Mueller's going to testify.
I hope
let's
so.
See what happens after that. So do I. All right, guys, I got to go back to work.
Yeah, get back to work, Gary. Thanks for the call.
All these lazy conservatives got nothing to do except call into talk radio shows all afternoon.
844-967-2789. Let's squeeze one more in this segment. Mark from the SAC, you are up. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Mark.
Well, why would you destroy evidence as the Trump administration did if you're innocent? I mean, that you destroy it.
You mean like wiping it with the cloth?
Yeah. What do you mean by clean the server?
I think this might have been hard copy. I heard something today. I just heard it. I just caught it that something like 5 of 7 boxes of evidence got destroyed rather than sent over to Mueller.
I haven't heard any of that. I got to admit, Mark, I haven't heard there's been any evidentiary chain of evidence issues.
It could have misheard it, but I know that they did destroy evidence rather than turning it over to Mueller.
Well, there were encrypted messages that were unobtainable by Mueller, and there was emails that were deleted purposefully, it would appear, against the wishes of the special counsel and the directive.
And there were apps that were used that did not retain any long-term data.
In and of itself, that's obstruction of justice.
Yeah, you don't do that kind of thing if you're innocent. I mean, they throw this stuff out at Hillary that that you still hear the chant of lock her up for her doing the same, supposedly doing the same thing. But at that point in time, I don't know that she was actually under investigation when the evidence was being.
Mark, you remember when James Comey came to a press conference and talked about Hillary Clinton, and I thought, damn, they're about to drop some indictments on Hillary Clinton, the nominee. And of course that didn't happen. But I certainly think that the Mueller testimony can be and probably will be as damning, although I think he will stay right in his lanes. I think he will be very black and white, very binary in his answers. I don't think there will be any speculation. But
of course
certainly he's not going to support what Barr said.
If here's the question, Mr. Mueller, if Donald Trump wasn't the president, would you have charged him with obstruction?
Sure.
I mean,
10 times over.
All he has to do is read from the friggin' report. We can all read it. Why does everyone think that this is such an issue? Because what? Because Barr got out there and laid down a few layers of misinformation for weeks before the eventual report got out in its redacted form.
Greg Sargent at the Washington Post. We'll get to some of this. Trump's new effort to muzzle Mueller gives away his big scam. Come back with us. More phone calls as well. 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates, greatest radio show ever. I promise. We're award-winning. We're like at least the 3rd best promoted radio station in a big market in Wisconsin this year. Come back with us. I'm not entering next year. I'm not drinking for 4 hours.
But there's been no collusion, no obstruction. and virtually everybody agrees to that.
If you have an innocent client, act like it.
This Russia thing,
Would that be obstruction?
yes. President Putin, he just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
Did you know you can take Wisconsin's Resistance Radio anywhere? Check us out on the TuneIn app under WRRD. I'll help you out. Hey, Alexa, play WRRD on the TuneIn app. You're welcome, everyone, and thank you for listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have one foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio. The political party line, always open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you don't think we have to worry about the tail wagging the dog, do you?
Yes, of
Trump would never start a war to distract from Mueller and Bill Barr and Michael
Venezuela
Cohen.
didn't really, get any traction last week. So, hell, let's do Iran this week.
If you can't do a coup, then
do a bomb? I'm not clear.
Bomb, Iran.
Oh, no.
The only topic where John McCain and Donald Trump actually agree.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran? Bomb. Anyway.
I never much cared for John McCain, quite frankly.
Oh, you like the ones that don't
Until
get
the
cut?
thumbs down.
Now, then you like them. 844-967.
I never much cared for Michael Cohen either.
2789.
I do like Chris from Sun Prairie, though. Let's take her on the phones. Chris, welcome back. I hear you were a traveling girl all weekend. You and Sarah Pearson traipsing all over Iowa, chasing Democratic presidential candidates. Chris, tell us a good story.
Oh, well, we did. It was really awesome. The Iowa people have such power. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess I always knew it, but it just really hit home to me when I was there. The candidates
intimate,
come there and they're
small events they get in Iowa. I mean, they expect you to come to their diner and introduce yourself, and if they haven't met you 3 times, they're not going to caucus for you.
Yeah, and you get access to the candidates like I've never seen before. I got to meet most of them, shake their hand, have a selfie with them, ask them questions. We saw A.B. Klobuchar. We saw Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke. We saw Trice. We were at 2 Bernie events. It was really quite an experience. I plan on going back again because I was able to ask questions at pretty much every event I got to. And, healthcare is something that's real dear to my heart. So my questions were about healthcare, specifically as it referred to mental health and, help for people with substance abuse and Elizabeth Warren's CARE Act. Whether or not the candidates would support the CARE Act was something that I was asking about. So I was real happy to be able to get that kind of access. And Iowa's a beautiful state. I've never been all over it like I was this weekend. We put a lot of miles on.
I've been to Iowa many times, Chris. There are some lovely spots near the river when it's not overflowing its banks. Let me ask you, who had the biggest rally, or was it all small events, or did like Bernie have a big barn burner of a rally in Iowa somewhere?
They were all small events, but the biggest events were Bernie events. But they were not huge events. These were little town halls in very little small towns. So Beto brought out a fair amount of people as well. And he worries me because he is very charismatic. And I like how he took.
Why is that worrisome? You
Why is
afraid
that
you're going to fall in love, Chris?
I don't care for Beto. That's why it worries me. I think he talks a good game, but I don't think that he will legislate in that way. I think he's a little bit too corporate.
Head-to-head, most recent polling I saw over the weekend, Beto does better than any other Democratic candidate head-to-head with Trump. He's plus 10 on Trump right now. If electability is your only metric, Beto could be your guy.
I don't know. I really don't trust the polls. I don't think that they're polling the young people. They don't have.
Chris, you don't think Joe Biden's up 30 over Bernie right now?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm seeing things that remind me of the last campaign where they're trying to put out anybody but Bernie. It seems to me the establishment wants anybody but Bernie. Well, maybe they don't want Elizabeth Warren either, who is very warm, wonderful woman. I love Elizabeth Warren. I just would love for her to run as vice presidential candidate and then be our president after Bernie's done. I love both of them.
You got it all figured out. Chris, did you ask any of my very important questions of mine about what these candidates think about the legalization, taxation of recreational marijuana?
I did not get to ask the question, but Bernie does support legalization. He said so in his speech. Beto O'Rourke said that he supported. Now, I'm not too sure if he was
Beto
just
said,
medical.
I got some weed in the van. Chris, we got to cut you short here. Thank you for the call. What an adventure our pal Chris McDonough had this weekend. I'm a little envious.
Should have
I
gave
said
her a
that
mic.
to you earlier today. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates in your phone calls. 844-967-2789.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out the Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Pelosi's election claim. The U.S. sending a warning. I'm Mike Moss. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she fears President Trump would not accept a narrow defeat in the 2020 presidential election. The latest from White House correspondent Pamela Brown.
The notion of a presidential power grab addressed by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, telling the New York Times she's worried Trump may not willingly step down if he loses his 2020 re-election bid. Quote, he would poison the public mind. He would challenge each of the races. He would say, you can't seat these people. We have to inoculate against that.
Hundreds of former Justice Department staff, including Democrats and Republicans, say if Donald Trump weren't president, he would have been charged with obstruction by Robert Mueller. Former federal prosecutor Jennifer Rogers is among nearly 400 to sign a letter that was posted online.
I signed the letter because I want people to know what the Mueller report found. You know, no one's reading it. All they're hearing is headlines and what Bill Barr says about it. But this obstruction case against the president is an easily chargeable and easily provable case that would have been brought against anyone else. And that's what I think people should know.
Growing tension between the U.S. and Iran. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier group to the Persian Gulf region as a warning to Iran.
We have continued to see activity that leads us to believe that there's escalation that may be taking place. And so we're taking all the appropriate actions, both from a security perspective and well as our ability to make sure that the president has a wide range of options in the event that something should actually take place.
A federal judge has handed Adel Daoud a 16-year prison sentence for trying to kill hundreds of people by detonating a car bomb outside a bar in Chicago. The sentence includes time for later attempting to have an FBI agent killed and for slashing an inmate with a shiv. On Wall Street, the Dow down 66. I'm Mike Moss.
Here's some.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
What has become a trend, another big name from a championship sports team is refusing to attend a White House ceremony honoring the title. Correspondent John Stolnis with more.
Boston Red Sox manager Alex Cora says he plans to skip his team's visit this week because of the Trump administration's response to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico.
The government has done some things back home that are great, but as the report said, we still have a long ways to go, and that's our reality.
Cora, who was born in Puerto Rico, said he's disappointed he won't be with his players and coaches.
It's pretty tough, to go celebrate when we're in where we at, and I'd rather not go and just be consistent with everything.
John Stolnis, Washington.
The president says he's looking into offering a waiver that would allow athletes attending the nation's military academies to play pro sports. They would fulfill their military obligations after they complete their sports careers. I'm Mike Moss.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at DomandCrute.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's DomandCrute.com.
For 1510 Milwaukee and 1580 Madison, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A federal court ruled Friday that Assembly Speaker Robin Vos must testify in Wisconsin's gerrymandering case. The Republican leader plans to appeal the ruling, according to his spokesperson. A story in the Journal Sentinel says Senator Ron Johnson is considering running for governor of Wisconsin. And more than 40 people are in need of a new place to stay after a fire yesterday morning at a large apartment building on Milwaukee's north side. No serious injuries were reported. The building is located near West Hampton and North 45th Street. Outside tonight, a chance of rain with lows around 40 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 40s in Milwaukee, upper 50s in Madison. Then Wednesday, rain likely with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. Donald Trump. A little Trump trashing. Still the topic of the day, Dom. I got another article I'd like to jump into. I mentioned it. I foreshadowed it in the last hour. I'd like to jump into it. Greg Sargent. Trump's new effort to muzzle Mueller gives away his big scam. The Washington Post.
Scam? The president? Do tell.
President Trump and his advisors want you to believe that the conclusion of the Mueller investigation amounts to much more than just total exoneration. It will also help Trump get reelected because it validated his argument that the probe was an illegitimate effort to remove him, allowing him to go on offense against the deep state cabal behind it. As one top Trump campaign official is now boasting, the investigators will be investigated and the tables are turning, which is something the campaign will continue to point to. Trump's efforts to unleash law enforcement on his political foes doesn't just represent a newly aggressive push into authoritarianism, as Trump campaign is openly and casually proclaiming it's also key to his 2020 strategy. It's strange then that Trump does not want special counsel Robert Mueller to appear before Congress. After all, if he did, Trump's Republican allies could subject him to their typically withering cross-examination skills.
Yeah.
Mercilessly unmasking the truth about the man at the center of the deep state plot for all the nation to see. If only I could read better, Dom, that sarcasm would have been much more biting. Why on earth would Trump willingly pass up such a fabulous opportunity? Trump unleashed 2 tweets on Sunday calling on Mueller not to honor the Democratic request for his testimony. Trump claimed Mueller had found no collusion, all caps, a serious distortion, and no obstruction, a flat-out lie, and said, no redos for the Dems. Meanwhile, we just learned that Trump's attorney general, I guess that's different. You know, he's got the TV attorney, he's got the attorney going to jail, and then he's got the attorney general who just acts like his private counsel. William Barr defied the deadline set by Democrats for releasing the full, unredacted Mueller report and underlying materials. Democrats are now preparing to hold Barr in contempt. What the tables are turning means the idea that Trump is on offense against the investigators is encapsulated in the phrase, the tables are turning. This is a new Trump world talking point. Trump himself just used it while claiming the only criminality involved in Russiagate was by Democrats. Barr is apparently all in on this table turning. Barr has said he is investigating the spying, air quotes, on the Trump campaign, subtly propping up the idea that the probe was grounded in nefarious deep state intent. Last week, Barr cast doubt on the investigation's genesis and lent support to the idea that Hillary Clinton was the real colluder. As Brian Bootler and Jonathan Chait detailed, Barr's past backing up the Iran-Contra pardons and his willingness to validate Trump's narratives, he blessed the fake Uranium One scandal, raised reasonable suspicions that Barr will willingly carry out Trump's authoritarian designs, whether for instrumental purposes or as a true believer. And Dom, you'd think that Mueller's congressional testimony would provide a great opening to build a case for doing so. Indeed, the New York Times reports that some around Trump want Mueller to testify for precisely this reason.
The special counsel, they say, would most likely face tough questions from Republicans about two FBI officials, Lisa Page and her lover, Peter Strzok, who in text exchanges were deeply critical of Mr. Trump as they were investigating Russian interference in the election. Those questions would undercut Mueller's investigation, those close to the president say, and allow them to paint it as a partisan attack on Mr. Trump.
Now, hold on. Just a moment. I've asked this question a couple times. If indeed Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, if they had this plan to make sure Trump was never the president, all they were going to do is leak it out, let people know about the investigation, let them know that perhaps there was a conspiracy between Trump and Russia, true or false wouldn't matter, then why didn't they just leak it out?
That's a hell of a question, Chris.
I mean, drop it in October. An October surprise, you wreck the man's political career before it's even started.
Wasn't there also documented conversations or texts as well also being critical of Hillary Clinton?
Those don't matter.
Oh, okay. All right. So if they were critical of one side and the other
and they
side
called the
matter.
FBI Trump land there for a while, Don. The very law and order FBI suddenly all in the tank for the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, if you believe the Trump team.
Greg Sargent continues in the Washington Post. But the reality is that if and when Mueller does testify, it will all but certainly fortify the investigation's legitimacy in the public mind, not undermine it. And it will likely deal another massive blow to Trump world's alt narrative. Trump probably can't stop Mueller from testifying. Barr has previously said he's open to it. Only days ago, Trump even said this was up to Barr to decide. But even if Barr shifted, Mueller soon will no longer be a Justice Department employee, meaning he'd likely be free to testify. Indeed, Robert Bauer, the White House counsel under Barack Obama, pointed out to me that Trump has not said he's directing Barr to prevent Mueller's testimony, suggesting he sees the writing on the Capitol wall. And here's a quote. I would assume his lawyers will be or are telling him, one, that he cannot put his attorney general, whom he would not want to lose, in the impossible position of having committed that Mueller would testify only to be overruled by Trump. And two, resistance is futile because eventually Mueller will testify, Bauer emailed me. If so, Trump's tweets urging Mueller not to testify appear more feckless and panicky than anything else. But beyond this, Trump's very opposition itself gives away the game. If and when Mueller does testify, he will likely reiterate his report's account of the genesis of the investigation, that the FBI initiated it after a foreign government contacted the FBI about a May 2016 encounter with Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, in which Papadopoulos indicated Russia had offered to help the Trump campaign with damaging information on Clinton. Mueller may well publicly speak to the ways his report detailed how the Trump campaign expected it would benefit electorally from that Russian help and the campaign's efforts to, collude with it. If Mueller is asked why he declined to exonerate Trump on obstruction, he might somehow let it be known that he did, in fact, establish extensive evidence of criminality. Nor is aggressive questioning of Mueller about those Strzok Page texts likely to work for Trump. Remember, each time this or that revelation about them was greeted by Trump as a bombshell, they ended up being buffoonish duds. It's possible, of course, that Barr will carry out Trump's authoritarian directive to investigate the investigators, but Mueller's testimony won't build the case for this effort. It will only reveal it as much more corrupt and lawless.
Dominic, I've got a couple tweets I'd like to share. One from Adam Schiff. I believe he heads up not the Judiciary Committee, he heads up the Intelligence Committee. A Democrat from California tweeted this about a day ago. Today, Trump announced he is opposed to Mueller testifying before Congress, before the American people. He also opposes letting Don McCann appear, the former White House counsel, right? That guy doesn't work for Trump, he works for the American people. Barr's testimony alone, designed to protect Trump, isn't going to cut it. They will testify. The American people deserve the truth. That, according to Adam Schiff. Now, here's one Donald Trump just sent out a few hours ago.
Oh, please enlighten us.
This one, a little off topic for the Russian investigation and the Mueller report, but it does acknowledge the hometown boy, Dom. Scott Walker is 100% correct when he says that Republicans must wake up, all caps, to the Democrats, state by state power grab. They play very dirty, actually like never before. Don't allow them to get away with what they are doing.
What the hell is he talking about?
Whatever Scott Walker said, he agrees with it. Dems fight dirty. But never Trump. He's always on the up and up.
844-967-2789.
Won't let, the special counsel testify, or at least he'd like to block him. And, of course, his White House counsel doesn't want that guy testifying because he's been completely exonerated. And he doesn't want anything to contradict that statement. Not publicly,
It's
right?
done. It's over. And, Crudy, I wonder if we're going to have to, maybe move the 2020 elections? Because, according to Politico, Trump thinks his 2 years of his term were stolen.
Stolen with two L's.
Stollen.
Kind of like when I go lift, I get swollen.
He gets very swollen. Quint Forgy from Politico.
They're not stolen. They're put away.
President Donald Trump on Sunday floated the idea of extending his constitutionally limited time in office, complaining online that 2 years of his first White House term were stolen, Stollen, as a result of Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. I now support reparations. Trump should have 2 years added to his first term as payback for stolen time, for time stolen by this corrupt failed coup.
I got to stop you there. This is Trump tweeting?
No, I'm continuing. Jerry Falwell Jr., a conservative religious leader and Trump ally, tweeted in a message reposted by the president
that he's calling for reparations.
Here's what Falwell Jr. said.
Did I hear that correctly?
I now support reparations. Trump should have 2 years added to his first term as payback for time stolen by this corrupt failed coup.
I tell you what, I'll give him 40 acres and a mule.
Trump echoed Falwell's sentiment in a pair of tweets an hour later, writing online, despite the tremendous success that I have had as president, including perhaps the greatest economy and most successful first 2 years of any president in history, they have stolen, Stollen, 2 years of our presidency, collusion delusion, that we will never be able to get back. He added, the witch hunt is over, but we will never forget. Make America great again, all caps. The president's retweets regarding an extended stay in the Oval Office follow a New York Times report on Saturday in which House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she was concerned that Trump would refuse to give up power in 2020 if he lost re-election by a narrow margin. The posts also feature implicit contradictions Trump has not hesitated to repeat since Mueller submitted his report to the Justice Department in March that it was at once a partisan document conceived by 18 hating, angry Democrats, as well as a total exoneration for the White House. But Nancy Pelosi concerned that if Trump loses by a narrow margin, he would what? Squat the White House?
Be able to vacate. You're going to have to evict his ass.
Well,
Post a 5-day notice and then another
like 30
notice.
days? I mean, how long does it take for evictions?
From the White House, I'm not clear. I mean, I figure you'd lose the election in like November of 2020, and then by January, third week of January, you got to be out.
Got to be out. Are you concerned? Do you think that Nancy Pelosi saying that? Are you concerned? I think it's foolish. I don't know why anyone would talk like that. I remember crazy-ass Republicans saying that Obama wasn't going to leave after 2 terms.
Yeah, but they're crazy-ass Republicans. The problem might be the next Democratic president could face a legitimacy crisis of their own. Damn it, I meant to make that better.
The process is rigged. This whole election is being rigged.
Given my experience working for Mr. Trump, I fear that if he loses the election in 2020, that there will never be a peaceful transition of power.
I was sad for America. I was sad for America.
Explain that, because my voters don't get it.
You concerned about speaking up at work?
Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using, munitions that they have purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We're streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio. The political party line open for your calls. Talk or text at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I want another chance. I can do better.
Mondays are killing you today, man.
I know, man. I got my ass kicked. I'm still hungover from Saturday night drinking with Dan O'Donnell. The plumb line. Let me try this headline.
Those are just things I don't hear very often, but please continue.
The next Democratic president could face a legitimacy crisis, according to Paul Waldman at the Post. Some Democrats have begun to worry that if President Trump loses re-election next year, he might refuse to give up power. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi warned in an interview published over the weekend that the Democrat will need a landslide victory to keep Trump from refusing to leave office. Given that Trump himself is feeding the idea, he's now saying that he's had the first 2 years of his presidency stolen. Now they only spell it with one L here, Dom, from him by the Russia investigation. This is not an unreasonable worry. But in a sense, Democrats are actually worried about the wrong threat. The real threat is a related one, but it concerns the whole Republican Party and not just Trump. Now I'm going to tell people, I want to talk to you on this topic. You, the audience, not you, the co-host so much, but you, the audience, at 844-967-2789. Listen closely, because this is a predictive, sad story about what happens once a Democrat invariably wins again. If that's the next Democratic president, the next Democratic president could face an opposition party that acts as though the president has no legitimacy whatsoever. And I fear the Democrats, with their focus on Trump, are not taking this threat seriously enough. You see this blind spot among many of the 2020 candidates. Senator Bernie Sanders doesn't see any need to get rid of the legislative filibuster if he becomes president, in an apparent belief that some Republicans will support his agenda. Maybe he just thinks he's got some coattails. I read on. Meanwhile, Joe Biden believes that Trump is but a strange historical anomaly that we just need to get past, and then the GOP will return to sanity. This quote from Joe Biden, "This is not the Republican Party," he told the crowd in Iowa, testifying to the goodwill of my Republican friends in the House and Senate. I'm not trying to Joe Biden bash, but he's big buddies with Dick Cheney, right? That's a deal killer, I'm just saying. Someone might remind Biden that in 2009, when he was vice president, Republicans decided to oppose Barack Obama on anything and everything he wanted to do. Someone might also remind Biden that the time when Mitch McConnell simply refused to have the Senate even consider the nomination of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court by making up a new rule that presidents don't get to nominate justices in the last year of their terms. Most importantly, just about every Republican senator supported McConnell's unprecedented move. They argued that the court could operate just fine with 8 judges, so we should just wait for the next election to fill that seat. If Republicans retain the Senate in 2020, what's to stop them from saying they won't consider any more nominees for the Supreme Court until there's another Republican in the White House, because the court can do fine with 8 or 7 or 6 justices, Dom?
If your answer to that question is that Republicans would never go that far, you haven't been living on this planet for the past decade or two. That's who they were before Trump was elected. Trump has merely taken this to new heights, and in doing so is pushing the overall GOP further along in this direction. For the entirety of his term, he has encouraged the Republican base to hold every institution of American democracy, the press, the courts, the Constitution, in utter and complete contempt. The message over and over again is that the only question is whether institutions are doing what you agree with, and if they aren't, then they have no legitimate role to play in our system. Most recently, the White House is acting as though the constitutional powers granted to Congress are meaningless. The law says Congress can demand anyone tax returns? ? Sorry, we refuse. Congressional subpoenas? ? No, we don't think we'll comply. Testimony from administration officials? ? Go to hell. But even if Trump does lose re-election, the GOP is likely to continue with this and make it a lot worse. Imagine 2021. Democrat has won the White House, Republicans control the Senate. The Democrat doesn't just get no Supreme Court judges, she gets no judges at all. Those seats can stay vacant. Cabinet confirmations? Sorry, we're not going to let a bunch of socialists govern. As Eric Levitz recently wrote, do you really think Senate Republicans are going to help President Elizabeth Warren install her preferred leaders atop the Treasury or the SEC? They will surmise, and not without reason, that there is virtually no limit to the amount of sand they can throw in the gears of government without worrying about a political blowback. They don't care whether government works, so what does it matter to them if anyone is in place to run it? Their attention will immediately focus on getting their own voters out for the 2020 election. Meanwhile, the defeated Trump will be on Fox News and Twitter every day saying the election was stolen from him and that Democrat is really not the president. The GOP base, having learned well in recent years that no Democrat can ever be legitimate, will stand behind the GOP's obstruction.
I wish I had a clear and simple plan I could recommend to Democrats to forestall that possibility, but there's really only one way to do it. Win. Deprive Republicans of all the levers of power, because if the GOP has any ability to make governing impossible for the next Democratic president, it will. Count on it. Devil's Advocates, we'll be right back. You can count on us.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
But she's a witch!
I loved playing high school sports. I loved the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, all the pageantry, and I wanted to keep playing. But I graduated. No colleges called, and neither did the pros. So, to stay close to the game I loved, I decided to become a high school official. You know, a referee. When I played high school sports, I learned the importance of integrity, good sportsmanship, and respect for the rules. Now, as a high school official, I get to help model these same values to others. Maybe the colleges and the pros didn't call, but the kids in Wisconsin did. And now, I'm enjoying the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, and all the pageantry of high school sports all over again.
Interested in becoming a licensed high school official? Go to highschoolofficials.com to learn more and begin the application process.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com. Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org.
5 your local single source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez, I got to ask you, in what percentage did the fact that Real Resistance Radio, WRD 1510, the fact that you can come after bar with us on Brady Street, Tom, how much did that factor into the site selection of Milwaukee, sir?
There's that old saying, what's good for General Motors is good for America. What's good for Resistance Radio is good for Wisconsin and good for America. So it was huge.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
For 1510 Milwaukee and 1580 Madison, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A story in the Journal Sentinel says Senator Ron Johnson is considering running for governor of Wisconsin. The story says he is trying to decide between that or running for a third term as senator. Johnson has been criticized because he originally pledged to serve only one term as senator and not run for re-election. The Bucks play Game 4 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series against the Celtics tonight in Boston. And the Brewers beat the Mets yesterday 3-2, sweeping that series. They start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight at Miller Park. Outside tonight, a chance of rain, lows around 40 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 40s in Milwaukee, upper 50s in Madison. For Wednesday, rain likely, with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
The devil. The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dom, this Mueller investigation, you know it's affected Donald Trump. You know it's bothered him. You can see it.
You think? Look at the tweets.
Yeah, you can see it on his Twitter stream. You can see him, I mean, I would say physiologically reacting to Mueller. You can see he's a little anxious.
For a guy that's been totally exonerated, he looks so stressed out. If you were exonerated, wouldn't you be going to Disneyland, put down the phone for a while? I've been exonerated. It's all good. See, I told y'all. Now let's just move on. But he can't let it go.
Well, Dominic, there was one thing especially that got Donald Trump through these troubling times of his life. His faith in God.
Really?
Matt Steib at the New York Magazine.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
One might imagine that our staunchly evangelical vice president would be the most qualified White House official to give remarks at the National Day of Prayer held in the Rose Garden on Thursday of last week. But after Mike Pence gave his statements, including the Muslim ban ignoring claim that his boss has taken steps to ensure the federal government will never, ever penalize anyone for their religious beliefs ever again.
Ever?
President Trump took to the podium to share his experiences with his own faith. Unsurprisingly, it became a moment of self-defense. People say, how do you get through that whole stuff? How do you get through those witch hunts and everything else? Trump said, we just do it right. And we think about God.
Oh, God.
Another highlight from Trump's speech that ignores his own attempts to limit travel to the United States from predominantly Muslim countries. He claimed that there was limited religious freedom in the U.S. prior to his inauguration. People were not allowed, in some cases, foolishly ashamed to be using on stores Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, Trump said. They'd say Happy Holidays. They'd have red walls and you'd never see Christmas. That was 4 years ago.
Trump saved Christmas?
I guess so. It's an interesting angle considering that Trump hates Christmas parties. It makes perfect sense. Perhaps this person doesn't speak in the Trump voice. It makes perfect sense. A source close to the White House told New York's Olivia Nuzzi in a December 2018 article, because it's not about him. If it were about him, he'd love it. Christmas is not about him. So writes the New York Magazine. Well, Dom, evangelical Christians, that's his base, right? That's his power center, and that's what gives him peace in troubled waters. Jesus is like his lighthouse.
Until it's not. The raw story, Crudy, although evangelical Christians are seen as President Donald Trump's most steadfast supporters, a new survey suggests he has a surprising vulnerability within the group. And I got to ask myself, what? Of course they're supposed to be Christians. Trump doesn't act very Christian. Maybe he's just Christian on the inside.
Nobody with the Jesus.
The Christian Post reports that a study of Republican voters conducted last year by the nonprofit group Democracy Fund found that evangelicals who regularly attend church are actually less likely to back Trump than evangelicals who are more casual churchgoers.
Fake Christians?
Casual churchgoers. The research found that while inactive evangelical Christians had a 0.81 favorability for Trump, active evangelical Christians had a 0.74 favorability for Trump.
So about 10% less favorable amongst those that actually go to church.
And that, Crudy, is actually the same as the seculars category at 0.74, but slightly higher than the overall mean of 0.71, the Christian Post reports.
Seculars, that'd be you.
Am I secular?
I'd call myself an infrequent evangelical attendee of church.
More a casual churchgoer.
Oh, I'm going to adopt that. I'm going to appropriate that. I'm a casual Jesus lover.
I like to picture Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt because it says, like, I want to be formal, but I'm here to party, too. Because I like to party, so I like my Jesus to party.
Yeah. David
Jesus
Barker
knows I like to party.
Jesus knows. David Barker, professor of government and director of the Center for Congressional and Presidential Studies at American University, says that this survey is evidence that being religious actually leads you to support Trump less among evangelicals. Here's a quote. The highest level of support we are seeing among religious people are people who identify as born-again Christians but aren't actually doing anything about that most of the time.
The less Christ-like Christians, the ones that, show up at Christmas and Easter.
The casual Christians. In other words, Crudy, evangelicals who more regularly attend church to study the words of Jesus Christ are less likely to follow a thrice-married serial adulterer who openly mocked someone for having a disability during the 2016 presidential campaign. And again, I gotta say, what? Really? No doubt they should. I can't believe it's even that high.
Isn't it strange that the evangelicals would have this blind spot, period, for Donald Trump? Obviously, they want their abortion-hating judicial appointments. But above and beyond that, what's the attraction of Donald Trump?
I don't get it.
They want to overturn Roe v. Wade. I get that.
Is that it? Single
Christian voters. Now, I saw earlier, and was it Pence that was hating on the gays and Pete Buttigieg pushing back? They knew each other back from Indiana days. And Pence always, hearkening towards the Leviticus, the whole man in the man thing. A man shall not lay with another man. But someone pointed out on the Facebooks to me today, I think it was my pal Keith Schmitz, a very good progressive here in town. I think he pointed out something to the fact also in that whole man shall not lay with another man, the whole Leviticus thing. Something about those guilty of adultery shall be stoned. Now, what would that leave Pence to do with his boss?
Throw rocks at him? I mean, this is a adulterer, right? And that's one of the
stone him.
That's one of the big. That's one of the big
And
sins.
I don't mean the
right?
good kind.
Isn't that
I don't
still
mean
a
the
felony here in
420 break
Wisconsin?
kind. Stoning a guy?
No, adultery. Isn't
adultery
that
is a Class I felony? If
I think it's a felony here in Wisconsin.
Maybe a Class E felony. Yes, it is. It's still on the books. Can you believe that? Come on.
Can we bring him in next time he lands?
I want to make a citizen's arrest for Donald Trump for the crime and sin of adultery.
Please, sir, put down the Viagra.
Have occasionally been guilty of coveting my neighbor's wife. Tell you about your old lady.
My jeez. You know, the women love it when you call them that, Curdy.
And when I covet them.
844-967-2789.
It makes them feel warm and fuzzy.
But isn't it? I mean, I don't get it. If they're the Antichrist, right? There's a big story in the Bible about the Antichrist, right? And doesn't the Antichrist get lots of followers? I mean, I'm not clear on the storyline, but I would imagine if that's something like that, that perhaps he's fulfilling this prophecy for them. Is Trump the Antichrist?
I heard the Antichrist complaining to the people that run Twitter that some of his followers have gone bye-bye. Apparently, the Antichrist likes all the followers he can get, Dom, even the Russian bots.
Well, the more followers you have, the more famous you are. The more famous you are, the more right you are. I mean, it's very simple logic.
I can't imagine going into church and also professing to be a Trump supporter. I mean, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't proclaim myself a godlike man, but be okay with the immoral president that leads my country.
But all those evangelicals are doing exactly that.
But that, I would point out, and, you know, his support's still high amongst even those that are, you know, the less, the more than casual attenders, right?
Yes.
They liked him 81% if they barely went to church, but it was only 71%. It was still a big number, even for those that go and supposedly listen to the
81%
to the service, to the minister.
And then 0.74% favorability among the active and secular.
0.74.
Yes.
So higher than I said.
Yeah.
74% favorability ratings amongst the
goers.
The attendees.
Yes,
those that actually
yes.
show up and supposedly believe what it is the minister says. Because Donald Trump, he's so Christ-like.
But of course he's not. So what is it? I mean, I don't understand. And I am not a religious man, so I don't, I don't listen to the preacher or the priest or whatever the person leading the sermon.
I think I got an analogy for you. I think it'll work for you.
All right, but I'm not hearing that. And are they telling? They stand up there and now say, well, because Donald Trump claims to be evangelical, he's going to put our policies forth. We're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade, support him no matter what. I mean, I just don't know. What would you say, Curdy? You're the godly one here, man. How are you not, taken in by Trump's evangelical self? How are you not drawn in?
I'm tempted.
Yeah.
It's very tempting, this Christianity he practices. Sort of a success Christianity.
God
sort of
loves you if you're rich.
Olstein kind of Christianity. God loves you as long as the Russians are laundering money through your hotels, right? Through your condo establishments. Ultimately, here's my thought. Some people, they love the movies because you go to the movies and hopefully you suspend your belief for just a while.
Suspend reality for a bit?
Sure.
All right.
To really buy into the movie, you got to suspend reality.
I feel the same way about religion, but please continue.
Well, that's perhaps my point. The evangelical Christians, they're just really good at that.
So
suspending belief.
How does the movie end? What's the point of the movie? What's the plot? What's the storyline?
Hopefully they find redemption. They find faith in Jesus.
No, or Martin Scorsese, everybody dies at the end. I mean, it's not always they live happily ever after movies, man.
Didn't Scorsese do a Christian movie as well? Did they all die in that one also, or is that just The Departed?
The Departed is what I'm specifically thinking of, but yes, everybody dies. So no, I don't.
I hate to break it to you, Dom. With or without the Scorsese reference, everybody dies.
Really? I thought you were a believer in Christ. How many people
I will
rise
have
again?
Eternal salvation.
Yeah? After you give up your money and after you're dead, then you get it?
Oh, is tithing part of that?
I
thought I tied at the radio station.
You know, come on. If it's
I'm doing
eternal
God's work over
salvation
here.
you seek, Trump, Crudy, anybody, then what you waiting for?
I can tell you Scorsese did Last Temptation.
Yeah, Last Temptation of
Last
Christ.
Temptation with Willem Dafoe.
That
Harvey
was
Keitel.
pretty bloody and gruesome.
It was raw. Let's just say that. But the idea was that Jesus fell in love with Mary Magdalene.
Wait, wasn't it Mel Gibson do the last?
No, he did the Passion of the Christ. That one was all about basically as
Jews
much
did.
suffering and horrible possible suffering that we can show on television, and gritty and sweaty and manly. Let's all do Latin later on, because that's what Mel Gibson believes.
You know, I saw that on Easter at a movie theater.
Wow. How was it?
I was less than passionate.
Were you? What about the temptation? The temptation of Christ was when
The Last Temptation of Christ. It's with Willem Dafoe. You
know who's from Appleton, Wisconsin?
Really?
Oh yeah.
He looks weird.
Jesus is from Appleton?
Willem Dafoe is from Appleton, and
He played the role of Jesus.
Some people say I look like Jesus.
I'm just saying, if you
Not
look
me.
back at that movie now, it's not as controversial as anything else that's come out.
So I don't. Why on God's earth, religious folks are they for Trump at 81%? I mean, what?
Dom, I am joining you. I'm at least turning agnostic. I mean, if there was a God, he wouldn't let Trump be president. Would he?
Maybe he
A just
would
God?
to teach us all a lesson.
Can I share a quote from Doug Stanhope? You never hear in the news 200 killed today when atheist rebels took heavy shelling from the agnostic stronghold in the north.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't happen a whole lot. I've not actually heard that. 844-967-2789. The inactive evangelical Christians, they love Trump at 81%. Those are the casual goers. But those who go, and the seculars on that side, 74%. Still an outrageous number.
What about like preachers' kids, like Scott Walker?
Oh, 100%.
110%.
Everything he's got.
Didn't God tell Walker to go run for president? And then apparently God humbled Walker. You know, he's always more than enough, Tom.
And then now God told Walker to work for Donald Trump in his re-election bid in the state of Wisconsin. Why would God say all these things?
He really likes Trump's bronzer.
Terrible.
Bronzer is closer to God. You don't know. That could be what God looks like. What if God were one of us, Tom?
Slob like one of us?
Well, like Trump, perhaps. Don't call me a slob. Come back with us. Perhaps we'll say something important on the other side.
Yeah, Cohen's going to jail. The fixer. He had something to say before he got into his SUV and went off to jail with a bunch of other celebrities. 844-967-2789.
I bet he said a little prayer today.
Most of all, I want to thank God. I want to thank God for his abundant grace. Win or lose, it has always been more than enough.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Oh my God.
That creep can roll, man.
Yeah, but he's a pervert, dude.
But other than that, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
you concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only ordering classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Blue, 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 blue. Yeah, blah, blee, blee,
blee. And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, 844-967-2789.
Dom, I can feel the godly love in this room now.
Is that what it is?
It warms my cockles.
Keep your pants on, man. Callers will get to you momentarily. As mentioned, President's former lawyer arrives at prison to serve sentence for tax, campaign, finance crimes.
I prefer to call him the fixer.
Reported to prison on Monday after spending months trying to delay his punishment by dangling the prospect of new incriminating information against others. Cohen spoke to reporters briefly Monday morning outside his Manhattan apartment before heading to report to a federal prison in Otisville, New York, suggesting again that he had more secrets to spill. Here is the fixer en route to Otisville Federal Prison. Cut 5, please. Do we have cut 5? No cut 5. All right. I will read briefly what the fixer had to say. I hope. Oh, we got it? All right, let's do it.
What are you signaling for, big guy?
I hope that when I rejoin my family and friends, that the country will be in a place without xenophobia, injustice, and lies at the helm of our country. There still remains much to be told, and I look forward to the day that I can share the truth.
In book form.
He's got lots of time to work on it.
Now, we talked about this. If Michael Cohen writes a book, is it better to wait until after he's released to publish? Could the special counsel seek restitution? Were he fortunate enough to sell a few books?
Yeah, I'm not clear how all that works. I know you'll get to have some sort of job in prison. You get paid something in prison. I don't think they confiscate that. You got to buy cigarettes and deodorant.
Toothpaste.
You know, the little things in life. 3 years. So he can't wait. What? No xenophobia, injustice, and lies at the helm of our country. So he's hoping that when he gets out of prison, Donald Trump will no longer be the president. Maybe they can, high-five each other on the way out, and Trump's on the way in. Is that too much to hope for?
It's going to be hard to high-five in cuffs.
844-967-2789. Betsy, you're up. Happy Monday, my friend. What do you got for us?
Hey, Betsy.
Happy Monday. I had a question. When have they ever stoned a man for adultery? Huh? Anybody? Anybody?
Are you implying it's always the woman that gets the scarlet letter, Betsy?
Yes. It's okay for the man. It's not okay for the woman.
Yes, I think the men. I'm not clear how it is. I think depending on whether you're a man or woman, you get the hole is a little bit deeper for you. Some are up to the shoulders. I think there is a rule for the stoning. Betsy, I'm not even kidding. But how terrible is that we actually have a law against adultery? A law. It's literally on the books in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, how ass backwards do we have to be?
We are, and it's going to take a long time to pull it out. I have to say that am believing that Trump is the Antichrist, because the evangelical, the Book of Revelation, they've been talking about end times.
But Betsy, they said the Antichrist would be so handsome
and charming. I'm not buying it, Betsy. I'm not buying it.
Oh, I hope not. I really hope not. But it is a very frightening time for us here in this great country of ours. It's quite, yeah. And I have to admit, I gotta get more God-centered, just so I can be, more loving and caring to those that, don't see the light,
Yeah, I'm afraid I can smell the sulfur from here.
844-967-2789. Thank you, Betsy. Always appreciate it. Lee, you are next. Happy Monday, Lee. What do you got?
Hey, Lee.
Well, I first have a question for you. Was it Stephen King, congressman from Iowa?
Yeah.
And he was saying that when the battle comes, the right has the guns, but the left has preachy statements. Am I quoting that accurately somewhat?
Well, in fact, he shared a meme that would imply that the red states have the guns and the blue states would be in trouble. One of the troubling things about the sharing of the meme is that he is from Iowa, and Iowa was amongst the blue states that apparently were going to get shot dead by the gun-toting, Trump-loving red states.
Okay, well, I think, I don't know how this started, maybe with Pelosi and her old lady tactics sometimes, talking about, Trump isn't going to resign if he loses, and Steve King's talk, and then the talk being amplified on radio. It turns people off. Nobody wants to hear it. Nothing will happen. Militia will be called out if Trump refuses to obey the law. And even though the guy that's in the service is called to do it, he may be a Trump supporter, but we're not going to see anything armed or anything like that at all. And to indulge in it is giving these militia people encouragement. And I just was reading Michael Moore's book about how he was dealing with the right-wingers up there in Michigan, all these military people with the guns and all that, what's going on. I don't think we should encourage that at all. I think it creates panic and misunderstanding, and if I didn't love you guys, I'd have turned the radio off at talk like that. That's just scare tactics. I don't think it's useful. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry about that, Lee. It may not be useful, and I may not agree, but when the Speaker of the House says these things, Lee, that's freaking news, dude.
I don't think she's being hyperbolic. I think she's pointing out the necessity of not just skinning by the skin of our teeth to beat Donald Trump, but crushing Donald Trump at the ballot box.
Like I said, man,
don't let it be a
righties
close.
Were saying the same thing about Obama. Oh, he's going to be a three-termer. We're going to have to get it. Come on. I'm agree with Lee here. I mean, it's not going to happen.
I'm going to point you towards George W. Bush in Florida. Maybe you recall how that worked out for the country.
How many terms did George have?
2.
Okay.
Come back with us.
Not 3 or 4?
We're just talking about a second Trump term, Dom. Not 3 or 4 yet. Come back with us.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
There is no God.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at Real Resistance Radio.
No tax returns? The Russia probe. I'm Ann Cates. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has informed Congress via letter that he will not release 6 years' worth of President Trump's personal and business tax returns. Correspondent Lauren Fox, a House lawmaker, sought the financial records.
That request was Committee Chairman Richard Neal, who had requested this information using an IRS section known as 6103 that he said gave his committee the power to ask for this information. This is, of course, escalating this fight for the president's personal and business tax return information.
The House Judiciary Committee votes Wednesday on whether to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt for failing to turn over an unredacted report on the Russia probe. Correspondent Manu Raju.
They say that it's part of their efforts to oversee, to investigate, and potentially legislate. They need to see what's behind those black lines and the underlying information, including the grand jury information that the Justice Department has said is off limits. They say it is imperative that the committee have access to all the facts contained in the full Mueller report.
Hundreds of former Justice Department officials in an open statement released today say Donald Trump would face obstruction of justice charges if he weren't president.
One former prosecutor who did sign, Jennifer Rogers, who spent 13 years as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. She's now with the Center for the Advancement of Public Integrity at Columbia University Law School.
440-some pages. Very few people are going to sit down and absorb all of that. So they should know that the takeaway is, contrary to what the Attorney General is saying, this is an obstruction case. Anyone else would have been charged. The president did obstruct justice.
Rogers says the letter, if you want to call it that, was passed along to her by a former colleague and has been making the rounds among career prosecutors for about a week. Bob Costantini, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 66 points, the S&P 500 down 13, the Nasdaq off 41. I'm Ann Cates.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Dominic, Milwaukee got the DNC, but Miami, they got the first presidential debate. We'll go on the road. We're taking this show to Miami.
Crudy once again dragging me all over the country, bringing the heat to Miami, Wisconsin style. Join us for a live broadcast Wednesday, June 26th and 27th. And don't forget the wrap-up show in Miami on Friday, June 28th.
Special on-the-scene in Miami coverage on WRRD 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Talk 92.7 FM.
There's a new addition to the Hollywood Awards show family.
Yep, here's another one. The Critics' Choice Real TV Awards just announced its first ever list of nominees, and RuPaul's Drag Race leads that list with 5 nominations, including Best Show Host for RuPaul Charles. There's a category for everything, from sports to crime to justice, cooking, competition shows.
The last thing I'm going to do is throw $1 million at you.
Shark Tank is one nominated in the business show category. There are also categories for travel, dance, game, animal, relationship, and many more. The show airs June 9th on VH1. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
Norah O'Donnell will become anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News, and the network will revamp its morning show lineup as it seeks to boost ratings on both programs. Starting in the fall, CBS Evening News will be helmed by O'Donnell from Washington instead of New York. The 45-year-old O'Donnell becomes the third woman to solo anchor an evening newscast. Gail King will remain co-host of CBS This Morning. I'm Ann Cates.
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? What, did he balance on that big chair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
For 1510 Milwaukee and 1580 Madison, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A man from Wisconsin was among those killed in the massive silicone factory explosion and fire in Illinois over the weekend. Alan Stevens was 29 years old and lived in Salem in Kenosha County. He was taken to a hospital burn unit just after the explosion, which occurred on Friday night about 9:30 at a factory in Waukegan. Stevens is the third fatality from the explosion. A fourth employee is missing and presumed dead. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, a chance of rain, lows around 40 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 40s in Milwaukee, upper 50s in Madison. And for Wednesday, rain likely with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock Monday happy hour. The least happy hour of the week, although it does mean that Monday is coming to a work close, but we'll get you home. We'll take you the next hour all the way up to a special edition of the Joe Costa Show. She and I were out at the Day Without Latinos March last week. She recorded her show live from the Capitol stairs. I was there with her. A fine show. Going to have the new Madison mayor. We have not even had the new Madison mayor on this fine show, but Joe Costa has her a little bit later. Christine Sinicki, Lisa Subeck, some other fine Dem lawmakers were up there. And, you know, I hate to be a spoiler, Dom, but there will be some mariachi music.
Yes.
Yes. Dom, I feel like we've neglected a duty here to the audience, to the public, to the people.
We can't possibly do that. I mean,
Wisconsin.
we're here for the people, man. What do we have to do?
Walker Bash.
Yes, we do.
Hashtag Walker Bash. Dom, you found this one. Why don't you get us started? What's Wanker writing about in the Foxy News?
An op-ed by the former governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker, to the Fox News. Republicans need to wake up to Democrats' nationwide judicial power grab? What?
I didn't know the Democrats could or would or have done any of that.
After putting some crayon to construction paper, here's what Walker had to say. Former President Barack Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder won't tell the truth when it comes to their redistricting strategy, but here it is. Pick a state, any state, and sue until it's blue. They have spent years and millions of dollars selling the false narrative that Democrats draw fair maps, while any and all Republican-drawn maps are partisan gerrymanders.
That's not at all true. I mean, that is just a bold-faced lie right from the get-go, Scott Walker. I don't think that Eric Holder's anti-gerrymandering campaign is, it's only okay when the blue do it. I mean, there's a lawsuit, state of Maryland. It's Democrats that did the gerrymandering. I don't know if Republicans like Scott Walker realize this because they're such ideological partisans. No, it's mostly your team that wants to do the forever gerrymandering. But left to their own devices, Democrats will do it too. And we don't think that's a good thing either, nor does Eric Holder, at least when he appeared on this show.
So it took Scott Walker up to the second sentence to mischaracterize.
Just completely freaking lie.
While rhetorically cute, their primary goal has nothing to do with fighting gerrymandering, as they repeatedly claim, but to put redistricting in the hands of unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats and lifetime appointed judges.
But he says that derisively. Like lifetime appointed judges. You mean like the federal judiciary? People like that, those fly-by-night federal judges? Have they demonstrated that they... Oh, Jesus Christ.
I know. This is Scott Walker. He's come on, man. He's laying it down. Well, let's keep going. It gets even better. Walker writes, their strategy makes sense. There are plenty of unelected federal judges presiding over these redistricting cases who will enthusiastically toss out constitutionally drawn maps to help elect more Democrats. That's exactly what happened recently in both Michigan and Ohio, despite the entirely dubious and suspect arguments from the left. It will also not be a surprise if liberal federal panels do the same thing in other states in the coming weeks. In recent years, we've seen this over and over again, and it's time that Republicans wake up to the reality of the Democrats' nationwide judicial power grab.
I would point out every congressional district in the state of Wisconsin is unconstitutional. Every district in the state of Wisconsin is unconstitutional. Why?
Why?
Because the Republicans, in their hubris, in their rush, were so quick to recast the maps to their greatest partisan advantage. They forgot to wait for the tiger maps. They forgot to wait for the accurate typographical maps because, when you're picking it house by house, elector by elector, what's going to maximize our Republican advantage in this district? How can we crack and pack all the Democrats in a few districts? Well, here's what you do. You rush out there and you roll out maps that aren't accurate, and that's exactly what was done in the state of Wisconsin. How do we know? The former Government Accountability Board addressed it in writing. Basically said our maps are unconstitutional. We'll try to remedy best we can after the fact. And don't even get me started about the assembly maps here in the state of Wisconsin that were, gerrymandered off campus. Robin Voss is being forced to give depositions. He's going to appeal, no doubt. Taxpayers' money. Talking about spending the taxpayers' money.
OPM, baby.
The Republicans in the state of Wisconsin have used millions of dollars in outside counsel to defend the maps that they did off campus in secret, which has created an advantage for the Republicans since 2011, an insurmountable advantage. Doesn't matter how many Dems come out to vote. Republicans always control the assembly. Forever. Dems just want to sue till we're blue.
Curdy, it's ironic you bring up the state of Wisconsin. Former Governor Scott Walker also mentions this in his op-ed in the Foxy News. The most glaring example in my mind is what happened in Wisconsin. Democrats spent millions litigating against our policies while simultaneously working to elect radical left-wing activists to our state Supreme Court. They wanted nothing more than to undo all that Republicans have accomplished for Wisconsin over the past 8 years. Republicans fought back and stalled their plans, but the long battle to keep Wisconsin heading in the right direction has only just begun.
Okay, I believe that Scott Walker thinks he's got partisan successes to hang his hat on. And I think many would agree. If you believe in conservatism or whatever hell kind of bastardized conservatism Scott Walker practices, well, they got their will. They had all the levers of power. And then they broke the levers for at least a decade. That's what the gerrymander did. Makes Republicans in the state of Wisconsin completely unaccountable to the voters. They picked their voters. Just ask Robin Voss. That's why he can defy 70% of Wisconsinites who would like to see the expansion of Medicaid. He will defy them. I'm leading you.
Leaders.
Leading us?
Yeah. Scott Walker continues. If Republicans fail to fight back nationally instead of pushing back as we did in Wisconsin, we will find ourselves in a perpetual minority for a generation.
Yeah, because nobody believes in the crap you're selling. If it weren't for attacking the machinations of the elections, I mean, Republicans would be massively in the state of Wisconsin. We had way more Democratic votes than Republican votes, yet the Republicans control about 2/3 of the assembly with less votes. I mean, that math doesn't make any logical sense. Don't tell me you got better ideas and better candidates. Your own assessment, Walker, is you'd be in a permanent minority if left to campaign on your own devices and platforms.
Crudy Walker writes, that is why I became the National Finance Chairman for the National Republican Redistricting Trust. We must engage on this issue now before it's too late. The GOP must stand up and fight back to stop the Democrats' sue till it's blue strategy. If we want to continue to be able to implement our pro-growth agenda, we need to make sure Republican candidates have the opportunity to make the case to voters across the country. All Americans who believe judges should call balls and strikes rather than create new laws out of thin air should be concerned with the Michigan and Ohio courts' overreach. Judges have unnecessarily thrown Michigan and Ohio's political system into a state of chaos and uncertainty, just as the Supreme Court is considering these same arguments in other cases. The Supreme Court can and should swiftly bring clarity and restore reason to what has been profoundly flawed process.
So in other words, allow partisan redistricting to continue in the red states. But do they like it when it's Maryland and it's the Democrats doing the partisan redistricting, forcing a long-term incumbent Republican out of office? Is that all good? Because, sometimes the Democrats win. Sometimes it's a blue wave. Sometimes they don't like your president so much, and you get crushed at the ballot box in, let's call it November of 2020.
Walker continues, for their part, Democrats are sitting back, counting the cash they plan to use on their trial lawyers to fund their strategy of endless litigation. Win or lose, they are happy to spend their money on lawyers just for the talking points their liberal judges and academics can give them to use on cable news and social media. They are more interested in winning the battle of the courtroom in front of the friendly judge than winning the battle of ideas before the voters.
That are partisan gerrymandered into districts to the point where they have no effect on the outcomes of their legislative leaders, right? The voters don't have a say, Walker. That's the bad part about gerrymandering. And I realize Walker ran for a statewide election. Gerrymandering did not affect his reelection in 2014.
Nor his loss in 2018.
But it certainly affects Robin Vos being the Speaker of the Assembly, Scott Fitzgerald being the majority leader over on the Senate side, because let's not forget, Senate districts are made up by individual assembly districts. 3 assembly districts make a Senate district. They do affect the outcome all the way up and down the ballot.
Crudy, despite what the Democrats may want, judges should not put the federal or state courts in the position to draw every map across the country. But that is exactly what will happen if the courts keep throwing out maps drawn the way the Constitution dictates. State legislatures, who are elected and accountable to the people they serve, have the long-standing right to draw their own districts for their own state as they see fit within the confines of the law. While we trust the Supreme Court will recognize and eventually correct the judicial activism we've recently seen in Michigan and Ohio, and this disingenuous national litigation strategy from the left, we can all agree that preserving the rule of law is paramount to preventing the Democrats' cynical attempt to bend the Constitution to solve their party's political problems. In order to do that, the GOP must stand up and fight back to stop the Democrats' sue until it's blue strategy. If we want to continue to be able to implement our pro-growth agenda, we need to make sure Republican candidates have the opportunity to make the case to voters across the country. We must keep Democrats from hijacking the United States Constitution to achieve their partisan ends. If we have fairly drawn maps approved by elected officials who are accountable to the voters, we will win. Former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, op-ed in the Foxy Newsies. Kind of ironic that we actually have litigation going on about Wisconsin's gerrymandering right now. I mean, literally right now. Was it Gil Whitford? It was delayed. I'm not clear what's happening on the U.S. Supreme Court level. Hopefully, we'll get some conclusion to this sometime this summer, maybe?
From January of 2019, a federal court will delay the date of the trial in Wisconsin's partisan redistricting case until the U.S. Supreme Court decides two similar cases this summer, handing a partial legal victory to the Republican-controlled legislature, because every delay means they continue to control all the levers of power beyond the will of the voters in the state of Wisconsin. That's the way they like it, like snug bugs in a rug, Dom.
So gerrymandering, Scott Walker's going to fix that.
They're like a tick on the electorate. You know, once they're in there, they're never going to leave. They're just going to suck us dry. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocate. Scott Walker.
Right.
The Wankinator. Do you ever tire of lying, sir? I mean, just be less disingenuous. Just, say, hey, we've got the advantage. Suck it, Democrats. At least that would be an honest argument. Come back with us. We always make honest arguments right here. Want to hear from you? 844-967-2789.
The process is rigged. This whole election is being rigged.
They can go suck lemons.
The manufactured outrage by the Democrats right now is hilarious.
This community means about as much to me as a festering bowl of dog snot.
Diplomatic community. Having a great time.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Do, re, mi, the first three notes just happen to
Terrible.
So when need to pulling down.
I can see listeners dropping off. Let's get some callers before we lose everybody. Betsy from Madison, you're up. Thanks for calling.
That will bring us back to do.
Terrible.
Hey, at least we didn't do Edelweiss.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line. Talk or text is open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, Donald Trump right now in the Rose Garden awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Tiger Woods, a very good golfer. You all know who Tiger Woods is. You've seen the Nike campaigns. Even if you're not fans of golf, you probably know who Tiger Woods is.
Freedom.
But in the audience is Mike Pence and Melania Trump. And I've never seen her look more envious, Dom. You know she's envious of Tiger Woods right now because no one would rather have a Presidential Medal of Freedom more than Melania Trump.
The best.
Let me go.
Freedom.
Nick from Madison, you are up. Thanks for calling today. Nick, happy Monday. What do you got for us?
Hey, Nick.
Happy Monday.
Hey, you're talking about gerrymandering again.
Yes.
And here's the thing, whether or not it's good or bad, and I don't think it's good, but you keep saying it's unconstitutional.
It is.
How?
Well, in congressional districts, and not just in the state of Wisconsin, but around the nation, there are supposed to be an equal, literally to the voter, equal number of voters in each congressional district in the state of Wisconsin that has gone askew because the Republicans used inaccurate tiger maps. Tiger maps are topographical maps. They didn't start and allow the local communities to move their lines and make sure that they were accurate. What they effectively did is they just basically, in their haste, used inaccurate maps and put people in the wrong communities, in the wrong voting districts, and created an unconstitutional circumstance because they did not accurately match up the number of voters in each of the congressional districts. By definition, all of the congressional districts in the state of Wisconsin are unconstitutional. Don't believe Crudy. It's in the GAB's writings. It's in print.
Okay, I'll look into that. But because what I
hey man, you can trust me on something, can't you, Nick?
No. Okay, but in the Constitution it says that Congress and the states shall draw their districts basically as they see fit. There's no rule about it.
Yeah, actually there is. In matching up an equal number of voters in the districts, there is...
Equal number of voters, yes, yeah.
When you do that inaccurately, you've created unconstitutional maps.
This was written in the 1700s, so they didn't have the access that you're talking about right now.
Well, when you talk about the constitutionality of this issue, and when Scott Walker goes on his disingenuous rampage in the Foxy News, what they don't point out is the technology that now you can go block by block, house by house, and pick your voters. The software is that good. That's exactly what the Republicans did over at Michael Best and Friedrich. Why did they not allow any outside scrutiny of what was going on? Why is Robin Voss the singular person in the state of Wisconsin that knows what each and every member was told? But of course, they all had to sign off on secrecy agreements. So the only point of commonality is Robin Voss. And when forced to depose by a federal panel of judges, well, he's, of course, going to appeal, Nick.
Well, because
what does he have to hide?
Yeah. Because they were empowered. That's why they did that, obviously. And just like Illinois is gerrymandered to hell for Democrats because they were in power, Maryland is too.
All right, but Nick, should we accept that?
What about nonpartisan redistricting, like Iowa?
How about Iowa?
I would have to look into that more to see if it really is. No one is nonpartisan. It's made up of people, right?
Of judges, which is what Scott Walker was railing against. These permanent federal judges with lifetime appointments. They're what? They're trying to balance the playing field against assembly district holders in Wisconsin.
We got to go to break, and thank you for the call. But before the Republicans jammed through their partisan gerrymandering, the previous 2 decades, it was done by judges. Just saying.
They never reached consensus. Because, of course, we often have divided government here in a purple state, not a red state. Contrary to Scott Walker's belief, come back with us. Your phone calls are next at 844-967-2789.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroot.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
Freedom.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
This dude is a clown, and the Republicans are traitors, regardless of whatever they say. The Democrats are one thing. I'm not a Dem, obviously, but the Republicans are traitors because they just wanted to win an election. It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. God bless you. Continue what you're doing, brother. Thank you. I love your show, man. Thank you. Absolutely. The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon on Real Resistance Radio.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com. Bradzog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
For 1510 Milwaukee and 1580 Madison, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The future of the historic grove of 36 chestnut trees next to the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts in Milwaukee could be up for a vote tomorrow. Renovation plans for the Arts Center call for removing the chestnut grove because it is difficult to access for people with disabilities. To walk among the trees, visitors need to descend a couple of steps from ground level. A vote to designate the grove as historic by Milwaukee's Common Council could happen as early as tomorrow. Outside tonight, a chance of rain, lows around 40 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 40s in Milwaukee, upper 50s in Madison. For Wednesday, rain likely, with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krutz on The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The happy hour continues, Dom, and we're going to get back to the phones in just a moment at 844-967-2789. Some breaking news of sort, Dom.
You got that smile. Why?
Foxy Friends to broadcast live from Johnny B's in West Dallas Wednesday morning.
Hey!
Fox and Friends, one of President Donald Trump's favorite television shows, will do its Breakfast with Friends segment live Wednesday morning from Johnny B's Classic Cafe, 1650 South 84th Street in West Dallas. Fox News Channel is in town Wednesday, and this news to me, Dom, and perhaps to our audience. Fox News Channel is in town Wednesday to broadcast a town hall with 2020 Democratic presidential candidate and U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. The town hall airs at 5:30 p.m. Wednesday from the Grain Exchange, 225 East Michigan Street. But don't bother looking up the address. The town hall is not open to the public.
Well,
Why?
What about the town part of the town hall? I mean, there's a hall, the grain exchange on Michigan. Get that? Where's the town?
For the Fox and Friends, I don't know, but let me read on. For the Fox and Friends segment, correspondent Todd Pirro will be on the site to break down the news of the day and discuss the town hall with co-moderators Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, the news channel said in a statement Monday. Pirro's no stranger to the Wisconsin breakfast spots. On April 28th, he did a Breakfast with Friends segment at the Pancake Place in Green Bay, one day after Trump made a campaign stop in Ashwaubenon. And Trump is a regular viewer of Fox News' Chatty Morning Show and has done long call-in interviews with its co-host and has fired off a number of laudatory tweets about the show. But conservative-leaning Fox News has also been picking up big viewership by reaching across the divide to give Democratic candidates a platform. Another 2020 candidate, Bernie Sanders, drew 2.6 million viewers for a town hall on the cable channel last month. I don't suspect Klobuchar will draw those sort of ratings. Or audience. Apparently no audience welcome at the town hall at the Granary with Amy Klobuchar on Wednesday night.
I'm still curious. Who was asking the questions in the town hall?
Brett Baer and Martha McCallum.
Okay. 844-967-2789. Happy Monday to our friend Pizza Box Mike. Hey, Mike, what do you
All
got
the
for
attendees are coming from Waukesha.
Great. Of course they are.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, just a message out to our friend Nick. You can't handle the truth. No, I've never had a conversation. Listen, Nick, I've never had a conversation where I had to say, I got to check on that and get back to you. I mean, know your stuff before you get in, man. But he's defending the Republican Party. We know that. Hey, as far as Walker wants to, bash Democrats for paying money to lawyers to try and seek out justice, dude had a criminal defense fund. He had a criminal defense fund, and not a defense fund, a criminal defense fund, because he's a criminal. And now Robin Voss is claiming legislative privilege,
legislative
immunity. Privilege. Yeah,
he's above the law, Pizza Box.
Immunity. No, he's going to have a bad year. And I had to warm up the cops a little bit today at the Capitol and tell them that I think maybe we're going to have to come back and start sleeping over in June. So they're like, no, Mike, I got to listen, man, I'm doing this for your kids too. But the cop made a funny point. I said, I'm your boss, man. We pay taxes for you. He goes, you know what's sad about that? I pay taxes for me too. So they do have a sense of humor. They do have a sense of humor, and we need to get in there and do something, man. I can't sit back and wait for another election by 2020. The planet's not stopping. We got to get with this, man. It's going to take citizen action to change this stuff, and we got to run Robin Voss out of there. I don't care if it has to go back to his affairs with other legislators while he's in office, while they're in the building. That's what I got to do to get down to the dirty on this. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but Mike, people don't care. Yeah. People don't care about affairs.
They do when you put it up. That's the best part. See, maybe people don't notice it, but I notice when Robin Voss cringes, he leaves a little turd behind.
Thank you for the phone call and your listenership and your colorful language, Michael. 844-967-2789. Brock, you're next. Welcome.
How can you argue that you're for the Constitution, but your point is that it's drawn in the 1700s? I'm not exactly sure what point he was trying to make.
Well, the originalist point-ish.
Yeah. Well, sure. They didn't. There's a lot of stuff they didn't intend for, but they seem to misuse it, and then that's no problem. Like the Second Amendment, this redistricting thing, it specifically says how to have it done. It's not that difficult. They have it done the right way. Have the judges do it like they used to.
Well, it's not so much.
Think of a single.
It is enumerated to the legislature to draw the maps, but the maps also have to be signed off by the governor. And when you've got divided government, as we did in every census year, every redistricting year, except for 2011, when the Republicans, of course, so broke the map, they've got permanent majorities on the assembly side. But Brock, yes, they have the right to enumerate and to draw the districts, but the governor has to sign off. And it's when you get that logjam that it ends up before the courts. But Scott Walker, if you noted in that piece we read, the Foxy News piece, never once said, let's do it in a nonpartisan, a fair fashion.
Well, they have such good ideas. Why do they need to cheat? They have such wonderful ideas. Put them out there and let's find out how wonderful they are. I don't know how anybody believes the delusional ramblings of that person. I also
well, they didn't. That's why he's the former governor of the state of Wisconsin and currently looking for fill-in work over on Whitey Righty Talk Radio.
I also have a funny no-energy Glenn Grossman phone story. So I used to call his office a couple times a week. So he'd get real squirrely and he'd call me back. And he's got big phone muscles or whatever. So he said, well, you know, these districts, I got what was left over. I said, oh, that explains it. He's like, what do you mean? Because I got the representative that was left over. Total silence, nothing. He had nothing to say the rest of the time. Just one little, it's like a battle of wits with an unarmed person. I don't know how people believe these crackpots. I'm from Scott Fitzgerald's district. I don't think he's ever run opposed. I don't think there's anybody that's ever ran against him. And I can't find one single vote he's ever cast, ever, that ever did anything for the people that he supposedly represents. Now, Big Pharma maybe, or Big Agriculture, but none of the citizens for the county that I live in.
You know,
So,
Brock,
I don't know what you do to change that.
I think I'm going to go get an apartment up there somewhere in Dodge County. I'm going to do a Frank Lassay. I'll put it on Airbnb. I'm going to claim that's my residence, and I'll go run against Scott Fitzgerald.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I'll carpet bag his ass.
I would gladly work on that campaign staff. I kind of am looking at like a security, traveling secretary, maybe a coercion type of deal. You know, it's not illegal. Everybody's doing it.
As long as you can be pervasive out there talking to the people, Brock.
No collusion, Brock. 844-967-2789. Wisco Paul, you are next. Happy Monday, Paul. What do you got?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, afternoon, Devils. I just got an email today that Pete for the Buck is running for Democratic state chair.
Oh, who'd you get the email from? Pizza or from the state party?
No, state party. The state party.
Why don't they send me freaking emails, man?
They don't like you much, Crudy.
I paid the dues last year. Come on.
You got to pay him again this year, Trudy.
I think you got to pay him on a monthly basis.
Somebody just told me that, I'll leave the name out of it. The GOP changes created a $1.4 billion hole in Tony's budget. Is
the Joint Finance Committee changes to Tony Evers' budget proposal create about a $1.4 billion deficit, which I don't know how you solve it. You're the Joint Finance Committee. You just handed off a deficit. You can't have a deficit in the Wisconsin budget. At least according to cash accounting, you got to have $1 left in your pocket at the end of the biennial budget. They left him negative $1.4 billion.
So close.
That's just special. Hey, I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for this, sir. Tell me that Trump and his minions are crazy enough to go to war with Iran. Please tell me if they're not that crazy.
I would think between now and next Wednesday, we could have some sort of military action in the Middle East. We got aircraft carrier groups. We got bomber groups moving over. And what are we going on, Dom? Israeli intelligence?
Yes.
Netanyahu's giving us the dirt on the Iranians, because what could go wrong there? Isn't he also under triple secret corruption investigation?
Axios reporting Israel passed information on an alleged Iranian plot to attack U.S. interests in the Gulf to the U.S. before National Security Advisor John Bolton threatened Iran with unrelenting force. Last night, senior Israeli officials told the author of the Axios piece. So the good news is what? Here is a quote from the Israeli official. It is still unclear to us what the Iranians are trying to do and how they are planning to do it, but it is clear to us that the Iranian temperature is on the rise as a result of the growing U.S. pressure campaign against them, and they are considering retaliating against U.S. interests in the Gulf.
Bomb, Iran.
Now, they don't know It's unclear
We heard
what they're going to
rumors.
do and how they're planning to do it. But
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
But, it'd be a good, page turner, considering the tough headlines over the last couple of weeks and certainly tougher headlines to come for the President of the United States.
Seems like the underwear gnomes on South Park. Step 1, steal underwear. Step 3, profit. Step 2,
start a war.
We don't know what step 2 is.
Let's get one more caller
There's
in.
nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
844-967-2789.
Mueller supposed to testify next Wednesday, the 15th.
That is the offer. He has not confirmed. But yes, next Wednesday.
I suspect any military action we might take as a nation will happen between now and Mueller's testimony.
In Venezuela and Iran? I mean, two fronts, right? Why not?
I think we've moved on from the idea of starting and forcing a coup in Venezuela for this week.
We'll
I
see
think
this how
we've
our
moved our
Iranian thing
attention
goes
on
along.
to the Middle
Yeah.
East.
Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. Jake from Milwaukee, you're up. What do you got for us?
Oh, I had a lot of things to say, but in between when I called and when everything I just heard, I'm completely confused now. So, two things.
Yes,
Fancy
sir.
Keith did a great job when Brian was gone, except for when I heard Cotton Eye Joe. That is a black mark on his soul. Just let him know that. That was was horrible.
He knows.
Anyways, he knows. Oh, you told him. Good.
Keith doesn't work here anymore. No, just kidding. He's done a fine job. We love Keith.
Okay. And this is just my personal opinion, but if they do try to start a war or whatever, it's going to galvanize the rest of this country against Trump. Because unlike the wag the dog from all the other years, this one is so obvious that, I mean,
Iraq seemed obvious to me. I mean, honestly, Iraq seemed so blatant, so obvious, so fabricated to me way back. I mean, before we jumped in, before, after 9/11, post-Afghanistan, pre-Iraq, I wasn't buying it. Russ Feingold wasn't buying it. Bernie Sanders wasn't buying it. But Hillary was buying and Joe Biden was buying, and a number of U.S. senators, despite what seemed like clear, shady evidence to me, they voted. They authorized. They went forward with it. And these are supposed to be well-informed U.S. senators. And Jake, now you can blame Fancy Brian. He did it to you, man. He gave you the Cotton-Eyed Joe.
Oh, no. Must be revenge for something I said. Oh, no. No, I disagree with you this time. This time, it's going to be
You wanted the
even more
thunder?
negative.
You got the thunder.
That's sort of a musical curb stomping.
Thank you for the call, Jake. I do appreciate it. I hope we don't start another war. What? I mean, what?
Brian Saber rattling in there with the music right now.
Yeah, you are being very provocative right now.
Nice working with you, Brian.
844-967-2789.
Good luck in
last
your
segment
future endeavors.
Coming up, Senator Ron Johnson in the news again.
Big man on campus,
Ron. The last man standing. The leader of the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin.
Guys, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
The future governor of the state of Wisconsin?
Ooh. 3-time senator from the state of Wisconsin?
If Ron Johnson was the governor of the state of Wisconsin, at least we would finally have access to a sitting governor. I mean, I hate to say it, but I might have to cheer for Ron.
Oh, come on.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your phone calls next at 844-967-2789.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
Freedom. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself. Freedom.
All I want to do is be able to watch.
Freedom.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
If you're like a lot of companies, you know you need IT, but you aren't sure where to start. That's where Five Nines comes in. Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO. For almost 15 years, Five Nines has been providing IT solutions to companies just like yours. We'll show you the solutions that are right for your business and give you the roadmap to success in the future. Find us at 5nines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, do it now. 844-967-2789. Talk or text like Kurt, who said this. Dense as a brick, Nick. You sound like a sixth grader. Well, Mom, Tommy is allowed to throw stones at windows. Why can't I? Well done, Kurt. That one's on you, Nick.
You better come prepared. You better bring your A game next time you call us, Nick. Don't be bringing that Republican thin gruel B school.
Hey, listen, Nick said on the radio that he had to check it out. He was not aware of certain facts. I'm totally fine with him double-checking.
He was double-checking my facts. When I say
man.
it, you can take it to the bank, Nick.
You usually are correct in most of your statements, Curdy, but sometimes, we all misspeak. It's okay to learn. Always continue to learn. Always leave your mind open for the opportunity, the chance that we may not know it all.
Dominic, through 14 months worth of Freedom of Information Act, actually open records request here in the state of Wisconsin, I got to the bottom of the unconstitutionally gerrymandered congressional districts, and the day we were going to drop that freaking story, that's when the lawsuit dropped, the Assembly gerrymandering lawsuit, and we sort of played second fiddle on that story.
At least it wasn't third fiddle.
Well, Tom, your boy, your friend, less so my friend, my show friend, Ron Johnson. Well, he's the big enchilada here in the state of Wisconsin now, at least according to Molly Beck at the Journal-Sentinel. And you can always join us. Tell us what you think about Rojo at 844-967-2789. I'm going to jump in. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson rode to D.C. nearly a decade ago as anyone but a career politician, and was reelected after promising to leave office after just 2 terms. But now Johnson is embracing his new role as the leader of Wisconsin's Republican Party and mulling a 3rd term or even a bid for governor.
What?
Gubernator Ron?
Wow.
That's because on the morning of November 7th, the U.S. Senator from Oshkosh woke up as the only Republican representing the entire state of Wisconsin to survive the election the night before. The last man standing, as he calls it. Well, I'd point out he wasn't on the ballot that night. When I noticed Scott Walker didn't win, nor Brad Schimmel, or obviously the lieutenant governor. What, she doesn't have a name? Becky Clayfish. I realized I was the last statewide representative. Johnson, who wasn't on the November ballot, said in an interview with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, "It's a role I never sought, but it's a responsibility I take pretty seriously." He's sort of the Jon Snow of Wisconsin Republicanism. I'll read on a bit more, and then I'll let you take it home.
Don't you mean the Night King?
Yeah, didn't he get stabbed by Arya? Johnson, 64, is establishing, looks young for 64, Maybe it's the pale white
64 sounds younger and younger every year.
He's nearly translucent. Johnson, 64, is establishing himself as the top state Republican after first being elected in 10, despite practically no ties to the so-called establishment he now guides. Once pledging to stay away from politics, step away from politics after 2 years, Johnson now won't say what he'll do once his second 6-year term ends in 22. Sources with knowledge of Johnson's plan say the senator is contemplating a choice, whether to seek a third term in the U.S. Senate, run for governor of Wisconsin, or do neither and return to Oshkosh, Vegas. Johnson isn't saying which path he'll choose, but he's also not ruling out any of the scenarios. Instead, when asked, Johnson said he's completely focused on electing Republicans in Wisconsin during the 2020 elections by creating what he calls a grassroots juggernaut.
Crudy Johnson's new position as the state's top Republican was on display at an April 27th rally in Green Bay for Trump, who called Johnson Wisconsin tough during his speech and departed Air Force One with Johnson at his side. Jennifer Duffy, senior editor for the Cook Political Report, who covers Senate and governor races, says Johnson is taking on the role because he has to. So you may as well roll up your sleeves and do the work, Duffy said in an interview. Duffy said it's not unusual for members of the U.S. Senate to back off a previous pledge to limit the number of terms they will serve, in part to avoid being viewed as a lame duck and keep potential challengers at bay. It's hardly unprecedented, Duffy said. It occurs to some of these members that the Senate is based on a seniority system, and therefore it takes some time to build that seniority and get things done. It's unclear whether Johnson would have more or less clout in the U.S. Senate if he won and served a third term. Johnson became chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs in his first term and is limited to serving the leadership role for 6 years. Johnson's focus comes after statewide Democratic victories that swept Walker, Schimmel, and Clayfish from office. Former House Speaker Paul Ryan has retired and Reince Priebus no longer in the White House. At the same time, Republicans maintain strong majorities in the state legislature, creating an opportunity for Johnson to assume what he calls the titular head of the party. He said his first phone call was to Priebus, who served as Trump's chief of staff for about 6 months and who was chairman of the Republican National Committee from 2011 to 2017 and chairman of the state Republican Party from 07 to 11. The two planned an autopsy of the 18 election, he said. Johnson said a key conclusion is the statewide campaigns like Walker's fell short in engaging with county GOP groups and other local level organizations. Longtime volunteers just don't have the kind of in-depth contact with statewide campaigns, Johnson said. When you're sidelined in the process, you're probably less engaged. Johnson said he found the 2018 campaigns to be ad-driven and consultant-driven as opposed to relying on grassroots efforts. For example, Walker released nearly 40 web-based television ads over the course of his re-election campaign, including one that was produced to rely on gas station pump screens. You know, those are the good ones. You need ads, Johnson said, acknowledging the influence large ad buys around the state can have on elections, including his. But he said the party is focusing on feedback he received from county party leaders suggesting consultants controlled the campaign and local groups really didn't feel like they were listened to. The campaign, the local groups didn't feel like they were listened to by the consultant class, according to the Republican side of the ledger.
I can't imagine.
Weird, huh?
It must be. Folks, thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates. Try never to be too weird or freaky over here.
You just are weird and freaky, man. Don't
I
try.
am, a little bit. You know, it comes natural.
Congratulations, WRRD. Third best morning show, Sherwin Hughes, The Forum. And third best promotion?
You know, the plaques are so small.
Major awards.
No, not really.
We got screwed. We should have had way more than that.
I am never sitting through a 4-hour drunk fest at the WBA Gala again, unless, you know, unless the fix is in. I mean, when Scafidi wins Personality of the Year in the state of Wisconsin, I mean, that guy makes Ron Johnson seem quite dynamic. Have a great night, everyone. We'll do it again for you tomorrow on the radios. Thanks for listening. Stick around. Joe Costa live, recorded live at the Day Without Latinas March.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
It sounds nice. It's not nice. It's not good.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana